In Madison, got an overturned vehicle blocking most of the lanes on Briley Parkway westbound after Gallatin Pike. I-40 westbound at Demonbreun downtown. Police reporting a crash. I'm Ken Weaver.
Welcome, one and all, to the Matt Murphy Show. I am not Matt Murphy. I'm Cameron Smith, and I'll be with you for the next 4 hours as we explore the delicious, delicious tastings of a government shutdown. We're going to talk about the 7th Congressional District race. We have a little bit about, actually, last week when I was here with Matt, talked about some of the DCS reforms, and as a foster parent, I'm very interested in what happens to these kids because I don't think there's anything worse than having a state as your parent. And you guys really engage that conversation, and I want this show to be about you and what you want to talk about. So the SuperTalk text line, 615-737-9986, is open. The wonderful Action Jackson, if he could be so kind as to open the phone lines so that you guys can call in. Same number. You can text or call. It's the same number, 615-737-9986. Somewhere back there and beneath the lights and glass and metal is Ken Weaver, and he's keeping you informed.
How you doing, Brother Cameron?
I'm rocking and rolling today.
Yes, sir.
It is, the lights are bright in here in the studio. I am baking slightly, but the sweat you see trickling down my face, if we get to that point, it's not because I'm nervous. It's because I'm being irradiated slowly.
Right.
So
it's like you're under grow lights.
Yes. So you guys don't get to see this. You can see it online. Those of you who are following along online, you can see some of it, but you can't see that in the command center chair that I'm in, right next to me is a stack of blinking, blooping lights and servers and stuff, and it just
radiates heat.
It's just heat, like straight up right on my right thigh right now. It is nice and warm, ready for prime athletic competition. I don't even have to do anything. I can just sit here and it slowly cooks. So it is much like a Christmas ham presently. But I am so excited to be with you guys. We've got some good information. Jason's already here, folks. When Jason's on the SuperTalk text line, I know it's going to be a good day. And, you know, he's saying that the shutdown's been the best thing that's happened all year long. We will test that theory. We will challenge some assumptions and try to figure this out because J.D. Vance is blaming the Democrats. AOC is come to my office and negotiate. Otherwise, the shutdown's on you. It's a lot of nah. And we got to get to the bottom of it, folks, because I know this is going to shock you. But in the end, you're the ones that are going to get screwed by this.
Bingo.
I mean, don't think for a minute that this is really going to work out and the government will reform, will rein in spending, will save money, all the things. No, it's just you. We're going to talk about a 2019 law that requires something in relation to this shutdown that will shock your conscience. And so we'll get through all of that in this show. As I start every show, I want to tell you guys when I fill in, one, thank you for having me. I appreciate you so much. Two, I want you to know where I'm coming from. I think it's real important that when I speak to you, you know what I'm doing, who's paying me, stuff like that, so that you're not getting some kind of spun version. You got enough of that everywhere else. So I want you to know I'm on the editorial board of the Tennessean. I'm a columnist, Gannett Network columnist over there. I appreciate you guys giving me conversation topics that I can write about. Go read the stuff over there. I've got a great piece out today on the 7th congressional race that we'll go over a little bit today. You can follow along there. My day job is at Thanks, where we help folks grow their business with gratitude. They graciously allow me to duck out a little early so I can spend some time with you guys. And I do a lot of random fun stuff. I work on, we made a movie, The Ballad of Davy Crockett, that you guys were awesome. Those of you that watched it, you can go stream it. And we've had a lot of fun with things like Wasted Bacon. Wasted Bacon is good for you, as it turns out. And it is tons of fun. I'm about to release some more stuff. But go wherever you stream music. Go listen to Wasted Bacon. Let me know what you think. It's supposed to be funny and entertaining. I realize we're dead serious and we want to be angry and shout about everything. But occasionally, laughing's not a bad thing. And we need to do more of that. And once we cover the cost, all the proceeds will go to Men of Valor, because it's a fantastic prison reentry ministry based here in Tennessee. And actually, the origins of Wasted Bacon trace back to a Men of Valor breakfast. As far as the Beast, you guys know I am a father of 5. And we do all the football, all the other things. Sunset Middle School's season is over. We're on to wrestling. And the little Beast is very excited about that. We've got freshman football, JV football, all the things. And we're sort of in the midst of wrapping up some of those things. And I can tell you guys, one of the most fun things that I've done all year. My coaching tenure is over for right now for football. My youngest is in middle school, and so I am a super fan now. But I like to be on the chain crews. So Friday night in Nolensville, you may see me on the opposing sideline. In my Nolensville gear, carrying the markers. And it is so much fun to listen to the opposing team and hear how it's going during the game. Best seat in the house. Something I love to do. But to quote Ted Lasso, football is life. And, here we've got a lot going on. I've heard these volunteers are contenders. That's what Jackson tells me.
Yeah. Alabama looked pretty good on Saturday.
They did.
Hey, wait. Matt sent me a message in case this happened. We are not allowed to talk about football or any sports on the news talk show.
Oh, so he has the microphone right now, right? Oh, okay, cool.
Just a message.
I was just checking. No, I understand that. But here's what Nick Saban would say to all of this. If you're an Alabama fan, rat poison. Like, none of this. It looks good. It's awesome. It's rat poison.
Gonna be a hell of a game in Bryant-Denny in a couple of weeks.
You know what? I have not been this excited about playing Vanderbilt in ever, and I hope Diego Pavia retires after the game.
I wouldn't hate it. I'm not gonna lie. I hope y'all smack up Vanderbilt.
And the reason I say that is not because it is because my man is good. Like, he's a good football player.
He is. And
he may not look like the physical stature part, but dadgum, he's a baller. And so,
what is he, 5'8"?
I don't know.
Ken's taller than...
He is not a large dude, but, I mean, he can sling it everywhere. He can run, and you gotta respect a guy that's had his journey through college football to make Vanderbilt...
relevant.
A ranked football. Are you kidding me? This is Vanderbilt, and they're there. And my hat's off to Clark Lee. I mean, it's kind of funny because Clark's a little bit older than me, and he was at NBA, I was at Brentwood Academy, and so I still have rivalry in my blood. But I mean, what a great job he's done there. I mean, there's a lot of folks, and I don't know. We're landlocked, but anchor down and stuff. Not this week, as they head to Tuscaloosa. But generally speaking, I mean, wow, what a big deal. Okay, let's get into it. Shut down. So I want to see on the Super Talk text line 615-737-9986 who thinks that the shutdown or shutdowns save us money. Like, let me know. Like, this is how we really our fiscal conservatism shines, right? I here I'll just go ahead and spoil it for you. The answer is no. And here's why. It's basically shutting off the spending spigot, kind of. But there was a 2019 law that was passed. It was part of that whole thing that happened, that whenever you furlough federal employees, you have to give there is a statutory there's a law that says you have to pay them back pay. So they're not working because you've shut down the government. We do not have the funding to continue operations. John in Lawrenceburg says he's never heard of Nick. I bet you have, John. Anyway, the bottom line is we are going to pay these folks back. Does anybody know? 7381, bingo. Shutdowns are political theater. Amen. Okay. Let me break this down for you in a way that I think is helpful to me when I think through these things. So we have a normal appropriations process. Matt's talked about it. I've talked about it. You got 12 appropriation bills. You know why we have 12? Well, there's a law, decades ago that created this structure. That's not the real issue. The issue is we do it so that you don't have to shut down the entire government. It breaks down funding into 12 discrete mechanisms, right? So there are these appropriations bills. They're supposed to go through this process. They are passed in the House, passed in the Senate, signed into law. Yay, appropriation bill done, and you do 12 of them. I don't know if y'all know this, but we fund the federal government every year. We have not stopped funding the federal government for any appreciable length of time. Any leader that's telling you, well, this wasn't avoidable. It is completely avoidable. This is the height of silliness. The fact that we're here is stupid. But we've done this. The longest shutdown on record is 34 days. It was from the end of 2018 to January, I believe, 25th of 2019. It was during the first Trump term. At the end of that, we paid everybody back. We did not save any money. We did not change our spending patterns. Here's how ridiculous this is. The year over year, first year of Trump's new term, we've spent 7%, 6 to 7% more than the prior year. Okay? Now we're talking about a continuing resolution. That means we continue that. What we're doing is continuing essentially Biden-era spending at higher rates than the prior year. I mean, I guess you could argue, well, it's a continuing resolution, so it's the same, so you won't see a year-over-year increase. But you already saw that increase. And we already, if keep tracking back with me, remember COVID where we blew money out everywhere? Well, we've never really recovered from that, and we do $2 trillion a year deficits. 1.8 trillion. Like, okay. But we never really went back to the idea that $1 trillion deficit was like a big deal. We just are continuing to blow it out. And now we're maintaining that. And that is the win for Republicans. Congratulations, folks. Congratulations. If Republicans get what they want and Democrats get out of the way, we are still going to spend more money. We are not going to save any money. We are still going to deficit spend. We are not changing really anything. And that's the big win here. We've got to take a break, but when we come back, we can talk about, well, what are the Democrats proposing and where do we end up in all of this? But right now, we'll take that break. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Superdog 99.7.
Well, U.S. senators have left D.C. We'll tell you what that means for the federal government shutdown coming up at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, that's a heck of a teaser, Ken. If the senators aren't there, I wonder what they can do.
Yeah.
It's wild. I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out.
Boy, they're really working hard.
Yeah, hardly working. Exactly. Yeah. So I went ahead and tweeted out. You can go check it on the X machine at D Cameron Smith. I took the liberty of those of y'all who don't know this. There's a group in Congress called the Congressional Research Service, and basically they are the nerd task force for Congress. And so staff can ask questions of Congressional Research Service, and they do a great job of well-cited, well-thought-out research that answers a bunch of questions. Several years ago, there was a move to make these reports public because it was kind of hilarious that constituents would ask things and Congress would ask CRS, and then CRS would tell Congress, and then they might tell their constituents. Now, these reports are public. You can see them, and they're really useful. And I tweeted one out at D. Cameron Smith that tells you everything you want to know about the shutdown. It is very, very clear how this stuff goes. It links to reports on, hey, were there any cost savings? What was the expenditure? Short story, costs us billions of dollars to shut down the government and then pay everybody back and hassle with all the shutdown logistics and then the reopening logistics. The other part of this that people really don't sort of think through is we talk about non-essential employees, and I'll give a little bit of credit here. They have these things called shutdown plans that the agencies have to basically designate some employees and say, hey, this is a critical government function. You got to keep working anyway. We can't shut that down because if we shut down, people could get hurt. There's other things. Other stuff like park service type things. My favorite shutdown thing of all time, was in Washington, D.C. at one of the last shutdowns. They put up a barrier around the World War II memorial to shut it down. The World War II memorial, you can just walk up to. Like, you can walk around. It's pretty fine. There's nothing there that is dangerous, or it is just basically a monument. And they put the big plastic, like, traffic barrier type things around it to shut it down because why not? And that's the kind of ridiculousness we're talking about this. But I do think we need to talk about, well, if Republicans were asking just to continue the status quo, which is shameful and terrible, what did Democrats want? And the answer is hundreds of billions of dollars in subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. So these are premium subsidies for health insurance offered through the Affordable Care Act exchanges. Here's the problem. It's just money to people, right, to make health insurance cheaper. And the last numbers say about 22 million people enjoy these subsidies. Well, guess what? If you enjoy these subsidies, it's a good deal for you because your health insurance is way cheaper. Right now, if these expire, some of the estimates say premiums will go up 100-something%. For folks who have employer-sponsored insurance, you might get 10%, 15% year-over-year increases in what you pay, your employer pays. 115%, something like that, is a lot. So Democrats are saying we can't maintain the status quo because these subsidies are expiring. We need to make sure there's money in here that will go to these subsidies. Otherwise, no deal. We're shutting down the government. Well, Republicans have said, and I don't know that it's entirely, well, I do know. I want to be real clear, and y'all probably aren't going to like this. Republicans have been saying that the Democrats want to give health care to undocumented illegal immigrants. That's not true. The big, beautiful bill rolled back these subsidies for people here with legal status who are immigrants. So think like student visas, refugees, asylum seekers, that kind of stuff. What Democrats want is for that class of immigrants to have access to these again. I think it's a very fair point to say, no, we shouldn't do that. There's a big difference in saying these things are designed for illegal immigrants. That is not and has not been the case. It is a cohort of immigrants that these subsidies were rolled back under the big, beautiful bill. That's a policy decision, and it's quite a reasonable one. If somebody's here on a student visa, I have no idea why it's the taxpayer's job to cover their subsidized health care. I don't. That is a policy choice. I think Republicans rightly are saying, why? No, if we're going to do this at all, let's do this for U.S. citizens. And again, Democrats are pushing to spend more. And I think ultimately that's what we need to realize here is this is a challenge of where do we draw the line? Because if it's ugly and uglier, then we're going to be somewhere in the ugly spectrum. And that's what Republicans are failing to see here. And I don't think they're failing to see it. I think they just don't care. That their big win is the status quo, which is fiscally ridiculous and irresponsible. And then Democrats say, you know what? We're going to push for more. So if we end up with a little more, and that's the quote unquote compromise, then yay, we win. Well, I think that's ridiculous. We'll continue this conversation on the other side of the break, but I think this is important that we understand this is how we end up with $1 trillion in debt. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. The federal government shutdown's going to last until Friday at least. U.S. senators tried to pass a short-term funding bill today but failed. Now, word is they've left D.C., some of them anyway. They won't be at work tomorrow for the observance of the Jewish holiday Yom Kippur.
The White House is sending mixed messages about upcoming firings as a result of the government shutdown. Vice President Vance said no final decisions have been made.
If this thing drags on for another few days or, God forbid, another few weeks, we are going to have to lay people off.
But speaking in the same briefing, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said this on when layoffs could begin.
2 days, imminent, very soon. You will expect more announcements right now.
Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Right now in Tennessee, Channel 4 says National Guard troops have arrived in Memphis. Uniformed troops and vehicles seen at the Memphis Safe Task Force staging area. Jordan James reports the troops joined at least a dozen federal and state agencies and crime-fighting initiatives.
Since Monday, the Memphis Safe Task Force has been operating and has made more than 53 arrests and recovered at least 20 guns, according to U.S. Attorney General Pam Bundy. They are dispersed throughout several neighborhoods.
Now, the troops will not be armed or make any arrests unless told otherwise. They're expected to serve mostly a supportive role for the agencies there. Meanwhile, Attorney General Pam Bondi and Department of War Secretary Pete Hegseth have boarded a plane bound for Memphis. And acclaimed animal rights activist Jane Goodall has died.
My role now is to introduce Dr. Jane Goodall.
Moments before Jane Goodall was set to take the stage, her death was announced. On stage, she was introduced, and the children in the crowd were told she couldn't be there.
Due to unforeseen serious circumstances.
Followed by this announcement.
Has passed away due to natural causes.
Then a video message from Goodall was played for the children.
Trying to make this a better world.
Followed by a moment of silence.
You're the beneficiaries of the last message of a giant.
Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
That's the latest news, traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Madison still got that overturned vehicle blocking lanes Briley Parkway westbound after Gallatin Pike. Got a crash near the Capitol, 40 eastbound near Church Street. And then in Donaldson, police reporting a crash, Lebanon Pike at McGavick Pike. And over in the Gulch, a crash reported by police, 40 westbound at Demumbrian. I'm Ken Weaver.
Anyone? Bueller?
to have a pest-free home. And they are endeavoring to do that every single day. They hire good people, and they bring them out to your homes, and these technicians will give you a free home inspection. They aren't going to try to pressure you into doing something you don't want to do. But here's the deal. You're threatened by termites. You're threatened by other bugs. And these bugs bring disease with them into your home. Rodents bring disease with them into your home. You need to eliminate that out of your life with U.S. Pest. They're simply the best when it comes to home protection. Now, I strongly recommend you get monthly protection from U.S. Pest. But if you feel like you've got an infestation that needs dealing with right now, go ahead and make the call. USPest.com is online, USPest.com, or call 590-1260 and tell them that I sent you. For any sort of bug or creepy crawly outdoor, pests like ticks and fleas are in abundance this time of year, and your pets can bring them into the house. Let's not let that happen. Let's get protected from U.S. Pest. Two things. They love America and they hate bugs. U.S. Pest.
Welcome back. I'm Cameron Smith, filling in for Matt. The SuperTalk text line's open, 615-737-9986. You can call in as well and let me know what you think about all this shutdown business. A couple things from the text line. I try to get to you guys during the breaks and communicate where I can. Is the idea of, hey, let's use this shutdown as an opportunity to right-size government. Possible, but it gets a little tricky because you have to find ways to terminate employees, not furlough them, terminate them, and basically survive the ensuing lawsuits that say there are federal civil service protections that you've run afoul of. So the better way to do this is through legislation, is through the legislative process where we fund these agencies, and if we want to shrink them, reduce the funding. It's not that complicated. We make it sound like this is so confusing. If y'all recall, years ago, we had the sequester and these automatic cuts that basically all the politicians hated, Jason raised the question of, is it okay not to like anyone in Washington? And the answer is yes. It's perfectly acceptable. Particularly from a fiscal standpoint, this is silly to look at this and try to make any sense of it for any principled conservative. Anybody who believes that we shouldn't just spend like it's funny money. What happened with the sequester, it was basically, if you don't agree to targeted spending reductions, we're going to do across-the-board cuts, and that's what everybody agrees to. Well, that lasted for a hot minute until people realized we don't agree on much, and so we're going to have across-the-board cuts, and we don't like that because it means things I like get cut as well as things I don't. Typically, what that means is you've got entitlement spending cuts that folks on the left hate. Now the right kind of hate some of that too. And then you had the right that was really defense spending. They wanted to make sure defense spending didn't get cut. And so they tried to do, and I shouldn't say it was entitlements, it was discretionary spending cuts. So the money that the government just decides to spend, and then there was defense. And that actually can work, right? If we don't agree, we're just going to reduce all the numbers by 5%, 10%, 15%. It's not fun because then people have to figure out how to do more with less. The other thing that y'all said on the Super Talk text line was a couple of you were government employees. And you said, I serve regardless of partisanship, and I'm proud of the work I do. I know a great number of federal employees that are excellent employees, that dollar for dollar are great investments and the kind of people that I would hire in the private sector. Some people like government service, and they like it for a couple reasons. They say, I can get in this position, I can serve my country, and I have some more protections that I wouldn't have in the private sector. So I may not make as much, but it's a little bit more of a stable gig. And I think that's a reasonable thing for folks to assume, but there's also no entitlement that that's always true. Sally asks, can Congress change the civil service protections? Yeah, it can. But again, there's a constituency. They care about their jobs, about their stability. I understand why, and they're willing to sue to protect it. You don't have to like that, but you just put yourself in their shoes. Some of these federal civil service workers, they're not partisan. They're just doing a job, a functioning government that somebody somewhere said it needs to be done. And then when you ask them, okay, do you want to keep your job? The answer, of course they do. It's, it is their source of income. It's how they provide for their families. And so they're going to fight to defend it. And that's where I think it's easy to kind of like look at these as nameless, faceless bureaucrats, but these are real people. And I think it's important that we remember that. But nevertheless, Congress has just created agencies, funded things, grown stuff, spent. Members of Congress don't care. It's not their money, it's yours. If it was their money, and that's one of the things I've advocated for that I don't know why we don't do. We should absolutely go ahead and tie their pay to the increase in the deficit. That if the deficit is X percentage of the economy, then or GDP in a year, then you get X percent of your paycheck. And basically create financial incentives for members of Congress to not deficit spend. If we did that, it would change quickly, but we don't. I see Anonymous on line 1, so I'm going to go there. Hey, this is Cameron. Who's this? Anyone? Anonymous? No? Okay. Well, they were very anonymous very briefly. The bottom line here is that we don't have a plan. We're shutting it down. We're going to end up paying all these people back, and it will be high drama. And at the end of the day, the comment of we don't really have a functioning government makes a lot of sense. When I worked on Capitol Hill, I asked for an organizational chart of the federal government. I asked the Congressional Research Service, and they could not give me one. They said, well, these agencies and sub-agencies change from time to time. We can give you an org chart for an agency, but not the entire government. I mean, that's how big our federal government is and how ridiculous it is that the folks in charge of informing members of Congress about what they need to do don't have a complete org chart of the federal government. So I'm happy to continue discussing this if you guys want to, but all I can tell you right now, the longest this has gone is 34 days. It is high drama. There's very little result, and you're going to pay billions of dollars more to play these stupid games. And while I do think that we should force Congress to try to do its job, my 14-year-old could do a better job. I mean, just to be honest, like, could go and make reasonable decisions. Don't buy all the stuff that is out there right now. Just don't buy it. So I want to turn to the next topic, which I think is maybe as important, equally as ridiculous. This is the 7th congressional race. And if you've been listening to this station during the time of this show, you will have heard some of the ads, and they are worse than anything I heard in high school. It is, somebody said Trump was a bad guy and mean stuff. And then somebody out of state said another thing about this guy. But I'm more conservative than everyone. And that's literally the ads. It's so dumb. I've got a column over at the Tennessean. I would urge you to go check it out. The big problem here is not just that this is an insanely dumb race. It's that nobody actually cares. Okay? And I know those are fighting words, so come and fight me. 615-737-9986. I looked at the early voting totals, and I'm telling you, this is going to be just like the 5th congressional district that Andy Ogles won. In 2022, 5th district primary, Ogles got 21,325 votes. Okay? That was 35.4% of the Republican primary turnout and less than 3% of the district's entire population. Okay? I just want you to think about that. Less than 3% of the congressional district, and that does count men, women, children, decided on Ogles. Because in Tennessee, and I want to be real clear, I'm not proposing ranked choice voting or anything like that they've already said we're not going to do that. The fact that we don't have a primary runoff if no candidate gets 50+% of the vote is ridiculous. At a minimum, we should have a primary runoff. So in the Republican primary, you might have 11 in the field, but then the top two, if nobody gets 50% or 50% plus one, then you have a runoff from the top two out of that list of, call it 11. And then that's how we ultimately decide the race. I think that makes a lot more sense than having 21,000 people decide for a district of 800,000. As of September 25th, there were 8,960 people who have cast a ballot in the Republican primary. So that's part of the early voting period that began September 17th. Obviously, we have more or less another week in there that I'm sure that number's up. But there's about 785,000 Tennesseans in the 7th Congressional District. And I don't know, folks. I mean, I guess we just don't whine about D.C. when we don't really show up to pick these guys. But frankly, I don't blame you, because I've been asking, and y'all have heard me on the show with Matt saying, like, who's your lead dog here? Who do you really care about? And there have been some of y'all that came out of the woodwork and said, well, I like Gino Bulso, or I like Reeves, or, Barrett, or whoever. But what's happened here, and go look at the column. I put this out there. The candidate statements are almost interchangeable. We've got to take a break. When we come back, I will prove it to you by using quotes from their website, and it is quite funny. This is the Matt Murphy Show. I'm Cameron Smith, and you're listening to Super Talk 99.7.
Oh, folks, Matt Murphy for Cover Nash. Let's talk for a moment about your health insurance. I know. Wait, don't go anywhere. Get back over here. Get back to your radio. Let's talk. Because Shane Ring can save you money, or Shane Ring can get you the coverage that you deserve, or most often, both, right? Most people, if you have health insurance, you don't think about whether or not you're overspending. If you have health insurance, you don't really recognize where you might have some gaps in your coverage. Shane Ring is here to go over your insurance plan comprehensively to make sure that you're getting the most for your money and to make sure that you're covered in the unlikely and unfortunate event that you would need something like a hospital stay or surgery, for example. He can help you out with a PPO plan that's nationwide. You go to any doctor anywhere in the United States of America, and it's only a $250 deductible and flat copays after the deductible. It's possible with Shane Ring and Cover Nash. Shane is your go-to concierge for all things health insurance. And remember, Shane works for you. He does not work for any insurance company whatsoever. He shops the entire marketplace for you and finds the right plan for you. You can meet him in Brentwood or talk to him on the phone, 615-465-0023, 465-0023, or online, covernash.com. Let's talk about your hair. If you're losing it and desire to have it back, then Advanced Hair Restoration has the easiest guaranteed solution. They're simple. One-day treatment offers life-changing results. I've seen it with my own eyes. Guys, it's not magic, but close to it. They put hair where you need it most, and bam, it grows. It's actually science. Advanced Hair has it all. Top-rated doctors, modern technology, and best of all, you get your very own natural hair that begins regrowing the very next day. Advanced Hair even guarantees it to grow for life. So schedule your free consultation now at 629-348-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Advanced Hair has changed tens of thousands of lives, and they're the team that I personally recommend. So don't wait. Check out the before and afters online for yourself. 629-348-HAIR or advancedhair.com. Once again, 629-348-HAIR or online at advancedhair.com. AC's not ready, call Jeff Eddy. And Efficient Heating and Cooling. Efficient Heating and Cooling is a small company with big service and big results in mind. If you're trying to make a decision to repair or replace your unit, you need Jeff Eddy in your life because he's never, ever, 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 ever going to tell you to replace if it's not absolutely necessary. Now, sadly, some companies default to replace. Man, they make more money that way. It's easier that way. But Jeff doesn't do that. He understands that you're on a budget. He understands that you need to get maximum life out of that AC unit, and he will help you do just that. The best way, I should add, to head off costly repairs is to give yourself regular maintenance on your unit, which is why I'll be talking to you about your heater come September. Jeff Eddy's Efficient Heating and Cooling of Tennessee. They got great value. They don't charge you overtime at nights or weekends. Friends, it's all about getting you back up and running for the least amount of money possible. EfficientHVAC.net. By the way, they're an elite pro partner with Rheem when the time to replace comes. 615-784-4424, 784-4424.
federal government shutdown's going to last for at least a couple of more days. We'll tell you how we know. And another sign of a weakening employment market. And then National Guard troops seen arriving in Memphis today. These stories and more at 4 in Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Welcome back. We have been talking the 7th Congressional District race. I'm going to go ahead and get to John because I want to get his thoughts, and then we'll talk a little bit more of this. We'll break at the top of the hour, and we'll come back to it. All right. John, what you got?
Yeah, I'm just curious. I read your article this morning, and it doesn't appear that this young guy, Mason Foley, is getting enough play because I believe he is different than most of these other people. And I know it's tough with 11 candidates.
Sure.
You have to pick and choose. But, I mean, he looks different. He acts different. I'm just curious, why no hype about him?
So I think the reason why is when you see some of the polling, and, you know, some of this you can trust, some of this you can't. You've got the 4 that have sort of the higher name ID, which are Jody Barrett, Gino Belso, Lee Reeves, and I guess Van Epps is the other one. And then there's sort of other candidates sort of down the line. And unfortunately for some of the other candidates, the real, barrier, I'll just say it, is money. You have to be able to fundraise and get your name out there when you have low name ID. And I've heard the name, but I couldn't pick Mason Foley out of a lineup. And I think that with the election already in early voting, if you don't do the fundraising legwork early to have enough to get your name out there, it's real hard to break through, in a tight election window. That make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Again, because of the low turnout, I really think there's potential surprise coming, just based off what I've seen out of him.
Yeah, I actually agree with you on that. So John, thank you for the call. I think based on the numbers here and the split field, it is entirely possible that somebody like a Mason Foley, if they can get enough sort of groundswell right there at Election Day, it could change this thing. Again, Andy Ogles won the primary in 2022 in a similarly structured race with less than 22,000 votes. Like no votes. And that to me is where we're going to end up here, is it's just going to be, how does it split? And somebody with a plurality of the votes and is going to walk away with this. I would be shocked. I mean, shocked if somebody had 51%. I just don't think that's going to happen. I mean, it's going to be spread out, and candidates need to go. This is a good lesson for all the candidates. You need to go if you want to run for Congress, and you need to get out as early as you can. If you decide you want to run, and you need to kind of build those relationships in the district. And I understand Mark Green just sort of pulled the ripcord and started a firm with a lobbyist, and let down a lot of people. And people were upset about that. But we're at a juncture where people need to know who you are. They need to be able to identify a face with name to pull for you. Some people will walk in and vote alphabetically, but if they're going to do that, they're probably not going to show up at all. And so if you want to challenge for one of these congressional seats, look, we don't have that many folks that I would consider political juggernauts right now in Tennessee. I think Marsha Blackburn's probably is about as close as it comes. Haggerty probably too. If Blackburn runs for governor, I think she's got the inside track to be governor. I think Haggerty can be a senator for as long as he wants. But otherwise, I mean, a lot of these folks are beatable. I mean, it's not popular to say it publicly because most people in, the pundit class want to curry favor. But look how much cash Andy Ogles has on hand. If somebody wanted to primary him and could raise money, he's beatable. Right now, the field's wide open because nobody has a real fundraising advantage in the 7th Congressional District. I want to talk about this race, talk about the lack of differentiation in some of those ridiculous ads. We will do that when we come back on the other side of the break. This is the Matt Murphy Show, and I'm Cameron Smith.
4 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes, and the federal government shutdown is going to last until Friday at least. U.S. Senate voted on a Republican bill to reopen everything today, but it failed. Word is that senators went home for the day. They won't be at work tomorrow in observance of the Jewish holiday Yom Kippur. So that means the next vote won't be until Friday at the earliest, I should say. Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance took the podium at today's White House press briefing and said they might have to start shedding jobs.
Because we are in a government shutdown, we are going to have to lay some people off if the shutdown continues. We don't like that. We don't necessarily want to do it, but we're going to do what we have to keep the American people's essential services continuing to run.
Yeah, Democrat leader Chuck Schumer.
When Democrats had the White House, the Senate, and the House, when Democrats had the majority in this chamber, when I was majority leader, we never had one shutdown in 4 years. Not one. You know why? Because we worked with our Republican colleagues to find a way to keep the government funded.
Yeah, we'll see what happens Friday. Another sign of a weakening employment market. ABC's Jim Ryan says the economy's been shedding, not creating jobs.
Analysts were anticipating 48,000 positions to have been added to private sector payrolls in September, but payroll processor ADP says the economy actually lost 32,000 jobs last month. The Bureau of Labor Statistics monthly jobs report is due out Friday. It might not be issued at all because of the government shutdown.
Right now in Tennessee, National Guard troops have arrived in Memphis as part of President Trump's crime-fighting initiative, Memphis Safe Task Force. Channel 4's Holly Thompson reports the troops are there to support federal and state agencies already there.
We know Attorney General Pam Bondi says authorities have made 53 arrests now. They've confiscated 20 illegal firearms, all happening in just 48 hours. Bondi tweeted the new information this morning. She says authorities also found a missing juvenile yesterday. They recovered a gun at the home of a murder suspect. So far, officials have not said which agency made those arrests or what charges those people are facing. Right now, we know 12 agencies are there in Memphis to work on crime, but so far the National Guard is not included. Bondi, along with other federal leaders, are expected there in Memphis today.
Department of War Secretary Pete Hegseth, too. Meanwhile, in Louisiana, the National Guard awaiting orders from Washington after Republican Governor Jeff Landry requested a deployment to New Orleans. Commanders of the Louisiana National Guard say they'll coordinate with local law enforcement before they arrive. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Madison still got an accident on the right shoulder, Briley Parkway westbound after Gallatin Pike. Capitol View, police say there's a crash 40 eastbound near Church Street, and in Donaldson, an accident Lebanon Pike at McGavick Pike. Also in Lebanon, a grass fire slowing people down 40 westbound before Lebanon, that's exit 238. And then in Brentwood, a crash 65 southbound just past Old Hickory Boulevard south. Also in Fairview, a crash reported by the Highway Patrol 40 eastbound between Fairview, Dixon, exit 182, and Kingston Springs, Ashland City, exit 188. I'm Ken Weaver.
Welcome back for the second hour of the Matt Murphy Show. I'm Cameron Smith. Thank you for being with me today. I am filling in for Matt for the next couple of days because he is, I believe, at the boot camp graduation of one of his family members. And Jackson, do you have more details on that?
His nephew.
Nephew.
In Missouri.
Yeah. So awesome. Somebody he's super proud of. He's going to check that out. And you get me, which, with respect to my ideas and my devilishly good looks, it sounds like both are lacking. So I'm sorry, but we're here. Jackson will tell you I'm also an Alabama fan, which makes me worse. So,
You're rocking that beard, though, Brother Cameron.
Thank you.
Keep that going.
With 5 boys, my wife has pointed out that the gray is taking over, Ken.
That's what I'm saying, man. You need to grow it while you can.
Ooh, buddy. I mean, it is. We're now fully into salt and pepper mode. It's not like there's a little salt in there. It's like it's even. We don't know. And I actually. What is fun when you get older and you have the stress of being a parent. Because my boys and I are out all the time, I ended up with poison ivy on my hands. Okay.
Oh.
And so it was, several weeks ago, and I had blisters, right? And it was a bad kind. It wasn't fun. And I guess poison ivy never fun, but this was blistered up and rough. And so the doctor prescribed a steroid, which one of the things that steroids do is it lowers your immune system response. And the poison ivy cleared up on my hands, but I got shingles.
On
my neck.
Dude.
A couple weeks ago. And I mean, it felt like somebody's breaking glass inside my neck. It was awful, right?
Yeah.
In the sequence of events, I'm, fine with shingles now. Everything's behind me. This is what it's like being a parent of teenagers. I got something called skin writing. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
Neither had I. What I can do is take my fingernail, write my name on anywhere on my body. It will basically swell up like a hive and then go away in a few minutes. And so I'm like an Etch-a-Sketch for a person right now. It is the strangest thing I have ever. It doesn't hurt. There's no and the doctor's like, well, we could give you super Benadryl, but you're going to be sleepy. And I said, well, I can't afford to be sleepy and do all the things that I do. So now I am a game at my own home because my boys and my wife find it funny to essentially draw graffiti on my body. And that's actually a thing. I am just not making that up. But yeah, man, I mean,
interesting.
The gray in the beard it's the least of the things.
Yeah, it is.
But hopefully all that other fun stuff will go away. But this is how these things work. And that's how, 1733 said, I've had skin writing all of my life. I didn't even know this was a thing.
This is the first time I've ever heard of something like this.
It is crazy wild. It was cool for about a week.
Yeah.
And then I was like, this is annoying.
Right.
And so, those of you who were not that close, if you could avoid writing on me, I would appreciate it. And those of you who are related to me, please stop. So that's the thing. And now you know something exciting. Back to the 7th congressional race. Yeah, this is dumb. This is like just super. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know why we're doing it this way. And, a couple of y'all have said, well, the ads are bad enough. Why do we have to talk about it? We have to talk about it because they're all treating you like you're morons. And I mean that in the most direct, offensive way possible. That they are literally treating you like you are stupid. I mean, here's what we got. The candidate statements. These are from the website. Gino Bolso is, quote, Trump's warrior for Congress. Barrett is the most conservative state rep in Tennessee history. Trump's America's quarterback, and Reeves is a running back or wide receiver who can block. Literally, that's what it says on his website. It's like, Trump's the quarterback, and I'm going to take the handoff, and I'm going to run, and I'm like, this. None of this tells me anything even remotely useful. I mean, at least Reeves didn't say that he was a Tennessee kicker. I mean, you know how that goes. But they can't. At some of these debates, and some of y'all heard this, you went and you saw it. They can't even tell you where they disagree with Trump. And yes, I know this is Tennessee. This is a district that is pro-Trump. But I love my wife above all others, and I can tell you areas where we disagree. The idea that 9014 said it. So your boys have drawn, a man part on you, huh? And the answer is, if they had the opportunity while I was sleeping, they probably would. And so I locked the door. That's just how life. You got to survive. It's hard knocks in the Smith house. But all these folks keep saying this stuff. It means nothing. And then they act like, well, I'm so different and I'm the right one and I'm the best. And, even with where do you disagree with Trump? Well, I wish he would play less golf. I think Reeves said he has hair and I don't. Like, I want y'all to think about the contempt that these guys have for you. And I know several of them personally, and I'm not saying they're bad guys. I'm saying the way they're running their campaigns is treating you like you are mentally deficient and you can't see what's happening right in front of you. And I think that's a big deal. I think that's something that it is a microcosm. It's one district. I get it. Not all of y'all are in that district. I'm in the 5th. The folks in the listening audience can be in different districts. I'm not just talking about this district. I'm talking about the fact that everybody's doing this. That this is how Republicans choose the people to represent them. Is, oh, cool, you're saying some conservative-y sounding things. You're not going to tell me in any way what makes you a leader and enables you to make very difficult decisions. And, then they're all, and several of y'all have brought this up too. They're all, I shouldn't say all because some of them don't have any money, but the lead candidates, those top 4 or something, the bulk of the spending is not from here. Jody Barrett, nice enough guy. The House Freedom Fund is based in Washington, D.C. That is a fact. Okay? Like, that is out-of-state money. That is not Tennessee money. It is coming in here and saying, hey, Jody Barrett's our guy. Okay, fine. Like, the House Freedom Caucus, the House Freedom Fund, like, those are conservative folks, generally speaking. But they're not Tennessee-based. So, you got those. You've got Club for Growth, David McIntosh, his crew, attacking Barrett over his school choice vote, which guess what? Folks in Tennessee support school choice. Barrett didn't. Like, that is a policy difference. Doesn't mean he's a bad guy. It just means that's a difference. But again, it's out-of-state money. So he's absolutely right to say, hey, this is out-of-state money coming in here and spending to try to attack me. But the idea that, like, you know, these are shadowy forces and it's you can identify me by the enemies that I have, like, what? Like, come on, folks. Y'all can see these ads. You got to know that they're treating you like a rube. And yet we keep doing it, right? We're like, well, let's go get everybody fired over the terrible things they said about Charlie Kirk. But when it comes to who represents us in Congress, we're like, well, you know, I mean, Republicans going to win. Like, that's okay. And several of y'all are talking about Foley now and saying, hey, this Foley guy is the way to go. Said Matt interviewed him and it went great. Like, I'm fine with that. But I'm just begging you guys to pick somebody that's not playing this game of morons. And I know that I'm getting emphatic about it. And I know that it's 7670 said Tennesseans did not support school choice. Well, it's the law. It's kind of funny how that could work if they didn't. All I'm saying on the school choice thing is Barrett didn't support it. Like, that is a policy difference. It is one that I can point to. Barrett was not on board with that. If you like school choice, he's not your guy. If you don't like school choice, hey, maybe you should give him a look. Also, it's not like Congress is voting on school choice a lot. Education is something best left to the states. So he's going to be a leader. Whoever it is going to be a leader in Washington. How are they going to lead? Well, you know, they're going to carry Trump's ball. Okay. They're going to be his warrior or something. Like, that's great, but like, what is it that you're about? What is whatever he wants? Then why do we need you? If you're just a rubber stamp, let's like write in Trump and like be done with it and say generic Republican, give Trump the vote and he can just, you know, have somebody stand in and cast it over there. And I think, you know, being a leader requires saying, hey, I support Trump. I love his policies, love where he is. Here's what I really care about. Here's why I want to represent you. And here's what I think where we're coming up short and where you got to do a better job. If you look at some of these campaign websites, it is the most generic stuff ever. And Jim's saying, why even vote? The truth is hidden. Well, at some point, enough people have to get ticked off by the slop that they're being served and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take a look at this Foley guy and give him a go because he's different. I can tell you down in Alabama, the options, people don't like the options that they have for United States Senate. So much so that Paul Feinbaum is thinking about getting in the race. Senator Paul Feinbaum. Now, he's been dealing with weirdos with a level head for a very long time, so he'll make a great senator. Don't get me wrong. However, that's what it takes. It takes people saying, I'm so tired of this hand-slappy, dumb stuff that I'm going to give somebody a chance, and we're all going to kind of rally around them, and they're going to lead us. Because that's what we need. And now, guess what? That person in Tennessee right now must support Trump, must try to help him in Congress. You don't have a choice because that's what people want. But the idea that you can't be like a Thomas Massie, you can never disagree with Trump. You know what? If you disagree all the time with Trump, you're not going to stay in office real long, not as a Republican. But if you can't disagree with him on anything other than his hair, that's ridiculous. Like, that just shows you're not a leader. It shows that you are so you want the job so bad that you can't even fathom a situation where you disagree. I mean, you could even say something like, hey, you know what? We really need to spend less. How about we do that? We really need to rein it in. This, you know, Doge was good. Like, we need to codify some of these cuts and we need to really get it under control. Okay, cool. That's a thing. But until we do that, I mean, Congress's favorability is extremely low because we don't care. And so I I don't have a dog in this one. I'm not in the district, but if I was, I would be looking at some of the down ticket folks right now that don't have the ad budget and seeing, can I get one of them? Is one of them reasonable? And can we get enough people to rally around them? And we start posting on social media. We start saying, hey, this is my candidate and here's why. Those of y'all that are telling me that this Foley guy, get on X at D. Cameron Smith. Tell me why. I'll tell you what. You tell me who your candidate is. I'll start retweeting and saying, hey, check this out, because that's the only way that this changes. Otherwise, it's going to be outside spending, coming in, telling us who's good and who's bad, and we're not going to have a lot to go on. That's the bottom line. We got to take a break. I'm Cameron Smith. You're listening to the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
Want to know about a place where European auto repair doesn't feel like European auto repair? Hey, it's Matt Murphy to tell you that the moment you walk into Eurofix, you'll notice Eurofix is not your typical greasy garage. Their waiting rooms are clean, comfortable, and inviting. Their service areas are spotless. Why? Well, because they believe in that level of detail and expertise. Because Eurofix cares about everything, from how you're treated to how your vehicle's treated to what their waiting rooms look like. Every repair comes with a rock-solid 3-year, 36,000-mile nationwide warranty on all repairs Eurofix performs, and at below dealer pricing. You don't have to put up with dealer prices or get ghosted when you're waiting on a callback. Eurofix fixes everything European, plus a rental car available at every appointment. Locations in Nashville, Franklin, Belmead, Murfreesboro, and Mount Juliet. 844-EUROFIX. Call 844-EUROFIX or visit myEurofix.com.
All right, the federal government shutdown's going to run through Friday at least. We'll tell you why. National Guard troops and vehicles spotted arriving today in Memphis, and the nation's largest retailer making changes to food ingredients. We'll tell you about these stories and more. 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, you guys know what? Ken Weaver gets me every time. I'm wondering what it is. What are the food ingredients? What's the thing going to happen? And I
Is
can't.
the food going to be better?
Is it? I mean, I don't know. Sometimes the great modern inventions. I feel like they don't care anymore with some of the food. Like if you go to the grocery and you look at the cereal aisle, we talked about this a little bit last week.
This was off air.
Yeah, it was off air. We had this good conversation that they have like candy bars as cereal now. Like,
yes,
this is Kit Kat cereal. Like Reese's Puffs have been around for a while.
Reese's Puffs were awesome as a kid.
Yeah. But like now it's like Kit Kat, Skittles, like
Sour Patch Kids.
Right. And I'm like, guys, this is just candy.
This is real cereal that we have all named real cereal here.
Right.
None of these are like hyperbole.
So like, I mean, I guess we have innovated in the food department, but I'm not sure we're better for that.
I think Sour Patch Kids cereal, I think that's the kind of stuff that stays in your stomach for life.
Yeah, we have to draw the line somewhere. And the fact, like Cookie Crisp, when I was a kid, was like, hey, well, this is cookies, right? And so that was pretty cool. But now we're just like, hey, we're just going to call this box sugar.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just a box of granulated sugar.
Yes, and you just pour it in the milk and then you eat it. Like, why bother with all the other stuff? Just sugar. Let's go. So a couple of y'all has said that it is very important to be an equal opportunity offender here. And I agree with that. I think, frankly, everyone should be offended by the ads that are being run. Some of these are from what are called dark money groups. But it's basically just political groups out of state that, decide they don't like you and they want to attack you. And that's the bulk of the spending in this race. And the pro Van Epps people have attacked Jody Barrett by saying, hey, he's betraying President Trump and betraying Tennessee. Well, come on. I mean, if you've met Jody for like 2 seconds, you can argue with him about school choice or whatever. That's fine. But he pretty clearly cares about Tennessee. He is very pro-Trump. He's not, the funny thing here is that everybody that's accusing people of doing things has done it themselves. And Jody's pointed this out about the ads that are talking about his comments about Trump in the past, that the founders of some of the organizations running the ads have said some of the same thing. Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, I believe it was Doc Holliday in the movie Tombstone that said, I have not yet begun to defile myself. And that was right before he launched his congressional bid. Because that's where we are. Everybody's just kind of making it up, saying random things. I can tell you the guys that I know in this race, pretty good guys. Like, I like Lee Reeves. I think he's really smart. I think in many respects, that's the big disappointment for me, is I know you guys, you can do better than this. Like, you absolutely can. And instead, they've all become what I call pander bears. They're just pandering all the time. Like, what do I think you want me to say? And I will say that thing so you will like me. Some of that you have to do because that's how you get elected. But the fact that it is completely devoid of substance is a campaign choice, and it's something that you guys should not put up with. So if it's Foley or it's these other people or even, Ken Weaver, you can vote for him. Don't put up with this stuff. And Jason makes a point. He said, I respect Jody for the fact that he voted against school choice because that's what his constituents wanted. Okay, cool. I mean, if you are a constituent and you agree with that, then, hey, that's your guy right there. Like, he took a hard vote in Tennessee because he thought it was what the people he represented wanted. And if you disagree with him, don't vote for him. I mean, that's the funny thing here is find somebody that you are excited to put your name next to. Okay? I mean, that's my counsel to you. That's what I try to do. I have some weird rules that I don't vote for candidates that are over the age of the American life expectancy, mostly because I think a lot of those candidates are out of touch with what comes next, and they don't have as much of a stake in the future. The second thing is I want people who, if I put my name next to theirs, I have to tell my boys, hey, I'm voting for fill in the blank because I think they're a good leader and I think they'll do right by us. And if I can't say that statement to my sons, then I don't vote for them. You know, there have been plenty of elections where I wrote in somebody, and I understand some folks say that's throwing away your vote. That's okay, but I think that your vote is what you choose every time. We got to take a break. When we come back, get your phone calls, text line, and we'll move on from this conversation. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes, and the federal government's going to stay shut down until Friday at least. U.S. Senate today voted on the same two funding bills that were rejected yesterday with the same result today. Then reports say they went home. Not going to return until Friday because they're taking tomorrow off for the Jewish holiday Yom Kippur. So when they get back on Friday, Jay O'Brien tells what Republicans are going to need to get their bills across the goal line.
Republicans need 8 Senate Democrats to join with them. And if they get those 8 Senate Democrats, then they would pass that temporary funding measure and end this shutdown. So far, they're only getting 3. John Fetterman, Catherine Cortez Masto, and Angus King, independent senator of Maine, who caucuses with the Democrats.
Right now in Memphis, National Guard troops and vehicles spotted arriving today at the Memphis Safe Task Force staging area. They're going to serve in a support role for the dozens of federal and state law enforcement agencies already there. Here's Channel 4's Jordan James.
Since Monday, the Memphis Safe Task Force has been operating and has made more than 53 arrests and recovered at least 20 guns, according to U.S. Attorney General Pam Bundy. They are dispersed throughout several neighborhoods.
Yeah, troops will not be armed or make any arrests unless told otherwise. Again, they're just to serve as a support for the agencies already there. Meanwhile, Attorney General Pam Bondi and Department of War Secretary Pete Hegseth are in Memphis, having just arrived. And the nation's largest retailer is making charges to food ingredients, as we hear from Brian Clark.
Walmart says its customers want food with simpler, more familiar ingredients, so it's removing synthetic dyes and over 30 other ingredients from its private label brands. These ingredients include some preservatives and fat substitutes. Health Secretary Robert Kennedy had already announced plans to phase out 8 synthetic food dyes from the U.S. food supply. Walmart says this change will roll out over the coming months and should be complete by January 2027. Brian Clark, ABC News.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Yeah, we've got that stop and go happening right now. Northbound 65 to the South Loop, eastbound South Loop to 65, eastbound 440 over to 24, then northbound West Loop downtown. We've got crashes, 40 westbound at Spence Lane, then 440 eastbound just past Nolensville Pike. In Lebanon, we've got a grass fire. 40 westbound before Lebanon, exit 238. In Rural Hill, a crash, 24 westbound past Bell Road. And then in Fairview, Williamson County, 40 eastbound between Fairview, Dixon, and Kingston Springs, Ashland City. Police say they've got a crash there. I'm Ken Weaver.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Tennessee Men's Clinic. You know, things that involve bedroom activity that happen to men that, don't decrease necessarily the desire, but the ability can affect confidence. It can impact your relationship. It can impact your mental health and even your sense of identity. But there's good news. The Tennessee Men's Clinic. It's good news. Since 2014, the Tennessee Men's Clinic has helped thousands of men get back to feeling themselves. First in Midtown, even before it was called Midtown, then in Cool.
Welcome back to the Matt Murphy Show. I'm Cameron Smith. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. We're talking about the 7th congressional race and how dumb the candidates and PACs think you guys are. I want to be clear with you. I don't necessarily say write somebody in. You got a big enough field to choose from. Just choose somebody that you really like. Get to know them. I know you don't have much time. I was just searching it out. I pulled up Mason Foley's campaign website, and, it's consistent with all the others. It's all the kind of just general stuff. But he said he is be the first Republican member of Congress born in Gen Z. So the youth thing is there. And apparently was student body president at Clemson. So I did not know that. That's kind of neat. So, yeah, as we look through these, there's also a very brief discussion of Democrats. Absent a truly bizarre result here with one of the candidates, there are some candidates in this field. I'm not going to name names here that are just kind of weird. And if they win, a Democrat could have a chance because it will depress Republican turnout. It's still a math problem for Democrats, and it's really hard to overcome. The GOP in Tennessee gerrymandered the district to make sure that Republicans had an inside track to win here. It is not as much of a Republican slam dunk as some of the other seats, but it is still heavily Republican unless you end up with a weird result and a weird candidate, and then somebody like Afton Bain, Bo Mitchell, some of the Democrats, whoever emerges over there, might have a fighting chance. I just don't see it. The only other time that I've seen something like this where there is a Republican lock seat that a Democrat won was the Senate race in Alabama when Judge Roy Moore was running for that seat, and Doug Jones, who was a pretty moderate, who presented as a pretty moderate candidate, won that Senate seat and then was booted by Senator Tommy Tuberville. A bad candidate who comes out of the primary can crush you in one of these races. Mike's been super patient. He has some thoughts on the shutdown, so I'm going to get to Mike real quick. Mike, what you got?
Pretty quick. The candidate running, what is his name, Jody Barrett. Yeah, Jody Barrett. Is he in favor of the shutdown?
I don't know the answer to that.
And so you need to start asking tough questions. Do the people that are running call themselves conservatives? And he may be the ultimate conservative. I don't know. But what's going on today is the government is shut down. Is the Republican Party happy about this? And they should be. Because guess what? Chuck Schumer just walked into a trap.
Tell me about that.
He is afraid of AOC and all the leftists that runs the Democrat Party. And so now the OMB director, according to the Constitution, and Donald Trump has the authority not to just furlough. See, the words being thrown around now is called furlough, layoffs, riffs. No, this is going to be firings. Because in the past, we had, we're going to go through a 35-day shutdown, 60-day shutdown, 12-day shutdown. But they all come back with back pay.
Right.
That's the problem in government. This time around, it's going to be different.
So hang on a second. You told me that the Constitution gives OMB the authority to fire people. Where?
When the government shuts down, there's no money left. Therefore, when there's no money left, the OMB has to find ways to save money. Therefore, they have to cut to bring back the paying for the government.
But the Constitution doesn't. So I just wanted to be clear. The Constitution doesn't mention OMB at all, right?
The Constitution gives the president the authority to shut the government down if we don't have the money. Congress, Mike Johnson, John Thune, they just did it. They said, you know what?
Well, they're not funding the government because they haven't passed an appropriation to do that.
And the reason the government is shut down, there's no funding. So therefore, the OMB has the right to say, I am in charge of funding, and if I don't have funding, I can now start rifting people, not furloughing, not firing.
Sure.
Well, firing.
And I talked about this a little bit earlier. The challenge is there are the Federal Civil Service has a number of employment protections there. And that's the reason that you end up without a change in law, you end up on the furloughs, right? And this is the reason why we have statute that says, hey, you know what? If you basically shut it down and don't pay these guys, when you open it back up, you got to pay them back. There's a law there. So if you don't want to use that law, you have to repeal it. Does that make sense?
And the reason we're going to see firings and not furloughs is because the government has run out of money.
Yes.
Therefore, the OMB director then has the authority under the Constitution to say, I have to bring back spending under control. Therefore, I can choose to furlough. Well, he can choose to furlough if he wants.
But hang on, Mike. I want to clarify this because it's really important here that we're clear. Nowhere in the Constitution does it mention OMB. So that's to say the Constitution gives OMB this. Well, it doesn't. Like, it's just not there. The OMB wasn't created until 1921. So, like, what you're saying, I mean, you may just not be being precise, but I want to clear that up that, yes, if they run out of money and they don't have it, they start these shutdown plans and they start shutting this down. But it doesn't change the law that's already enacted. If you want to change those federal civil service protections and things like that, you got to pass a new law, right?
But the difference is, man, I love talking to you, Cameron. The difference is that when you're out of money, you're not talking to those bureaucrats anymore or those bureaucracies because they don't have the money.
Right.
In other words, we've run out of money. Therefore, the OMB has the authority to go in and say, now we have the authority to say, that's it. You are non-essential. We have to save money. You're gone. And it's not going to be a furlough or, guess what? Take a month off on vacation and then come back and get back pay.
Hey, Mike, I appreciate it. Thank you for the call. I appreciate what you're saying. What I was trying to articulate to you is that authority that you are giving OMB doesn't actually exist. OMB can do a lot. It can make a lot of decisions, but it's in it is in the statutory authority that OMB has as it's constituted, right? Russ Valt's a great guy. I like Russ a lot. And so the idea that you run out of money and then you can just sort of say, well, we're not going to follow certain aspects of the law because we don't want to, and OMB can do that. Well, that's not true. That's not accurate. And we got to be real clear on this stuff, that we tell the truth even when we disagree with the left. That is the hardest thing to do, because it's easy to get on the sensational train. It's easy to start like running our mouths and saying, hey, here's the thing I heard. It's true. Let's go. Well, like sometimes it's not exactly true, or it's not very precise. Like what I was talking about earlier. We're with the stuff about health care for illegal immigrants. That's what the Democrats want, and that's what they're gunning for. Well, they want the Affordable Care Act subsidies that will keep health care premiums low for like 22 million Americans. And to be clear, they want to provide those subsidies again for immigrants like students with visas, refugees, asylum seekers who are here with legal authorization. That does not mean they're citizens. It doesn't mean they have a green card. It means they are here with a legally recognized status, so they're not illegal immigrants who just snuck across the border and have nothing. And so there is a little bit of a difference there. Now, I think it's completely reasonable to say, hey, if you're here on a student visa, we don't want to subsidize your health insurance. Like, that is a policy choice and eminently reasonable, but we got to tell the truth. And when we do that, it actually helps us. It makes us better because we're not playing this game of, hey, let's lie. Gary wants to tell me about Foley, and I kind of want to hear it. Well, I'll tell you what, Gary. Let me get to you on the other side of the break. We're going to take a break right now. I see Gary, I see Johnny, and we'll try to get to y'all before the end of the hour. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
Hi, folks. It's Matt Murphy for Defend Systems. It's such an important time to talk about Defend Systems and Brink Fiddler. We had him on yesterday discussing the tragedy out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. It reminds me of what I try to tell you every time I talk about Defend Systems, and that is the possibility of you finding yourself in a workplace violence situation, the possibility of you finding yourself in a mass shooter situation, the possibility of you finding yourself in some sort of active shooter response or rapid response medical It's very, very, very low. Very low. But it's not zero. And so while I'm not here to scare you, I am here to tell you that hope is not a plan anymore. It's time to get trained. And the way that you do it, if you're a business owner, if you are a decision maker, any place that people gather, at a corporation, at a business where you have customers coming in all day long, maybe it's a church group or a church setting or perhaps a school, it is time to get trained with Defense Systems. They can give you the tools and the knowledge that you need in the unlikely event that something like this happens to you. It's invaluable, and it really does work. I've been through their courses. I've been through the TECC course as well, and I love the fact that I feel trained in the unlikely event that I would find myself in this situation. 615-236-6484, 236-6484, or defensesystems.com. Friends, if you've not been to Genesis Diamonds in recent days, recent weeks, you need to stop in and see what they have done. It's pretty cool what's happening in Green Hills. Now, I love Cool Springs. Don't get me wrong. Cool Springs is great. But Green Hills, Genesis has totally reimagined a brand new state-of-the-art showroom. It is the most beautiful, most modern, and incredible jewelry showroom in the United States of America. Double the size of their old showroom, tons of new showcases, an artesian coffee bar. That's a very, very fancy word, artesian. Plus a relaxed and comfortable customer lounge. It is luxurious, it is warm, it is inviting, and it is for you. That's the bottom line. It's the jewelry showroom that sets new standards, and it's all about customer comfort and making sure that you are taken care of as you experience your diamond buying. There's also an entirely new section devoted to luxury pre-owned Rolex watches, which is pretty cool. Genesis now has one of the best Rolex collections in America. And I plan on, one of these days I'll buy, when Jackson Williams is doing his job at 100%, he'll get a nice pre-owned Rolex from Matt Murphy from Genesis Diamonds. That's right. 100% Jackson. That's all I need. New showroom proves that customers come number one every step of the process at Genesis Diamonds. Check them out and pick Jackson out a nice Rolex when you go by. Don't forget, they're also open in Cool Springs, Green Hills, and Cool Springs. Genesis Diamonds, my jeweler.
Well, the federal government shutdown's going to last at least through Friday. And look who just arrived in Memphis, along with the National Guard, Attorney General Pam Bondi, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. We'll tell you all about it at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Welcome back, folks. I'm Cameron Smith, filling in for Matt. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. A couple of you have asked a very good question. What is O and B? Well, BO is body odor. O and B, I don't know. What I've been saying, and it probably sounds just like O and B, is OMB, Office of Management and Budget. Okay? Office of Management Budget is within the White House and is basically the bird dog for the executive branch vision. So the Russ Vought, who runs it, it's his job to look at the executive branch and figure out, okay, what are we going to do here? How are we going to how are we going to carry out the Trump agenda across these different agencies? Primarily, the first responsibility is budget development and execution. Like, this is a big process. It's where, they're working with all the agencies to get the budget management, agency oversight. They do that. The big one that people don't really know is they coordinate and review all significant federal regulations. So we're making sure that these big dog regulations are consistent with Trump's vision and the way that he, does this. So it's a really important agency, and it is the largest sort of entity within the, White House. It's a big, big deal. So it is OMB, Office of Management and Budget. And if you're a nerd who likes regulatory reform and things like that, dig further. Otherwise, most of y'all just need to know what the acronym stands for. Gary has been patient. He wants to tell me about Foley. Tell me, Gary, what are we talking about with this guy?
Well, interesting. A couple weeks ago, knock on the door, and there's Mason Foley at my door. And it was a Saturday, it's a Tennessee-Georgia game. We're out back watching the game on the porch. So I just said, look, come on in. We're back here. And so visited with him. He's an impressive young man. I'm just going to tell you.
All right.
He knows his stuff. He's pretty much an expert on healthcare. He's connected with Turning Point. He's not telling everybody that, but he and Charlie Kirk didn't know each other. Charlie took him to Mar-a-Lago to meet with the Trump people, trying to get campus. As you mentioned earlier, he's president of Clemson student body, so they're trying to get younger people involved, and which I think is great. I got kids close to his age, and I was impressed. I mean, he's the only candidate that's actually personally knocked on my door. I get an awful lot of hate mail from all of them, but
which is so weird. But I get it. I get it too. It's just all this like, so-and-so's a rhino, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But he wants to go to Congress for 2 or 3 terms and come back to Tennessee and raise a family. And I believe him. I mean, I don't think he wants to do it for the rest of his life. To be honest with you, I think he's too sharp. But he would be a fresher breath of air. I voted early. I already voted for him, so I'm done. But he came back, spent time with my family. We talked. We were smoking ribs. I got him to eat some ribs. I mean, the kids down home, down to earth. Went to high school in Williamson County. Lives in the district. I mean, let's give somebody else a chance. Is my point.
Yeah, and I don't actually think that's a bad idea. Thanks for the call, Gary. I appreciate it. I mean, and that's what I'm looking for. I mean, and Dave said, dude told this story already. Yeah, well, it's important when people like somebody to say that. I mean, eating ribs with a candidate, yeah, that matters. I'll take that. We got to take a break. We'll be back. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
5 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And White House officials have landed in Memphis. This is at the same time, National Guard troops were seen arriving at the Memphis Safe Task Force staging area. Got a report on that coming up. But first, a federal government shutdown will last at least through Friday. U.S. senators went home after failing to pass two competing bills today, and they're taking tomorrow off for the Jewish holiday Yom Kippur. So the earliest the next vote will be is Friday. And how might that next vote go, Jay O'Brien?
And in lockstep, the vast majority of other Senate Democrats have said that they are holding firm because they want concessions out of congressional Republicans. They want an extension of Obamacare tax credits that are set to expire at the end of this year, and they want to roll back some of them of Medicaid cuts that were in President Trump's signature legislation, the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill Act.
Now, Republicans need 8 Senate Democrats to join with them, and if they get those 8, then they would pass the temporary funding measure and end this shutdown. So far, they're only getting 3. John Fetterman, Catherine Cortez Masto, and Angus King, an independent senator of Maine who caucuses with the Democrats. Right now in Tennessee, Attorney General Pam Bondi, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, and White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller are in Memphis. They're with Governor Lee just 2 days since the launch of the Memphis Safe Task Force, which claims 53 arrests in the past 2 days, confiscating 20 illegal firearms. They say they found a juvenile who was missing, and they recovered a gun from a murder suspect's home. And this comes as National Guard troops were seen arriving today at the staging area there in Memphis, along with vehicles. Meanwhile, in Louisiana, Democrats are angry that Republican Governor Jeff Landry's asked the Trump administration to deploy the National Guard to New Orleans.
Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry made his request for National Guard troops on Fox News, saying,
"We're not going to tolerate this uptick in violence that's going on right now."
At a committee meeting Tuesday, City Council member Leslie Harris cited New Orleans police statistics showing that crime is dropping, saying that if Landry wants a deployment,
he needs to deploy resources and money so that we can continue the good work that we've done.
Landry says that as many as 1,000 National Guard troops could be posted around Louisiana. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
And here in Middle Tennessee, murder investigation in Clarksville. Channel 4 spoke to a couple who lives near where a 20-year-old was shot and killed last night.
We were coming home last night around like 11 o'clock, and we saw all the police cars out there. We didn't know what was going on. Uncomfortable. I'll be looking all over my shoulder, locking my door and everything, because you just never know, man.
Yeah, the victim identified as Carmen Castro. The suspect remains at large. Police say they're looking for a black male with shoulder-length dreadlocks who was last seen wearing gray sweatpants and a hoodie. Police urging residents in the area to remain vigilant, and if you see anything suspicious, call. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, it is complete stop-and-go traffic, northbound 65 to 440, then again up to the South Loop. Then if you're eastbound 440 over to 24, and then eastbound 24 all the way down to Bell Road. Northbound North Loop downtown is stop-and-go, so is the eastbound East Loop and eastbound South Loop. We have crashes. 40 eastbound near Church Street, 440 eastbound just past Nolensville Pike, 40 eastbound at the International Airport, 440 westbound past Hillsborough Pike, and then 40 westbound at 2nd Avenue, 40 westbound before Bellevue, and then in Madison, 65 southbound at Old Hickory Boulevard. I'm Ken Weaver.
Welcome back to the third hour of the Matt Murphy Show. I mean, I'm Cameron Smith. I'm not Matt Murphy. Matt is he's doing his interpretive dance classes right now.
I thought you said he was kicking puppies.
No, kittens in Louisiana. It's one of the few states where it's legal to punt cats. But what? I don't.
That's legal?
What?
Is that like a Mardi Gras thing?
Hashtag big if true. Okay. Like I've been in around politics enough lately that I know that if you just say big if true, you can say whatever you want. Right? Isn't that how that works?
Big if true. Right.
Big if true. That's what you do. Dave said, hey, I'm sorry. I was just feeling a little surly in traffic on the Super Talk text line, 615-737-9986. I feel you, man. I mean, from the report we're getting about traffic, it sounds particularly awful. Meanwhile, I'm in here being slowly cooked / dehydrated by various machines. So while you're in your car, enjoy it. I'll tell you what, there's been some pretty good weather. Like, nice days outside. When I get home with the boys, run around, we're in the window where the cutting that we planted in my yard for my great-grandmother's fig tree is starting to get, like, the figs are just right about there. The other figs have already come in. We already eaten all those. But hers, because it came from Georgia, it needs a little bit longer of a growing season, and we're in the race against the clock. Before the fall really hits, will we get some of those figs? So, that's the exciting thing at my house. Okay. We've been, talking about a number of topics. Several of y'all had thoughts about Mike. Guys, Mike's a listener too. He's just coming on, giving his perspectives. We've talked shutdown. We've talked 7th congressional district race. We're going, don't worry, guys. We're going to do nincompoops in the news. So those of you who hate it can let me know that. And those of you who love it can also let me know that. Phil said 24 eastbound mile marker 83. There's a crash, stop and go, backing up fast. So you may want to just get out and walk. Probably recommend against that, but it's up to you.
Yeah, it's a nice day outside.
Yeah. I mean, leave your car. I also wanted to say, based on the Mason Foley story, if you're having a barbecue and have ribs and you would like me or several of the other callers from the Super Talk text line to come to your house and eat your food, we will do that too. So just let me know. I actually have been thinking a lot about this lately, that doing stuff together, whether it's going out for the Friday night football game or just hanging around and eating stuff, that's really important. Like, if we want to make America great again, we want to change the trajectory we're on. it's less being outraged on social media and more of, hey, let's hang out and get to know each other. That's actually, I'm seeing more and more of that. I've had readers of my columns over at the Tennessean. Please continue to check those out. Who've said, hey, you know, I like this. Can we talk? And I'm like, sure. If you want to grab a group of folks, here's where I'll be. I mean, typically, I kind of run the same routes week to week, but I love trying to find time to hang out with you guys and talk through these things. And I think it's way more fun to do it in person. I mean, it can be early in the morning over a cup of coffee. It can be, later. But I think it's important to get together. And I like you guys. It's been a lot of fun over the years to get to know you guys, as a fill-in guy, a guy that does podcasts, All the Best Words. You got to check that out. We're doing some more fun stuff. Shorter form stuff too, because we think it's important. 5513 says 86 degrees is not nice outside. Do you know how hot it gets here? I mean,
I'm with him. I prefer highs in the 70s, but we take what we can get.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're moving that way by degrees, literally. Like we have to take what we can get, and I will take, mid 80s all day over the August heat where it's like, I don't like anything right now. It's so hot, it hurts my feelings. So I like it. I just like pretty days. I mean, this time of year is one of my favorites. I kind of like this one like spring. Both of those work really well with me. I'm a big fan. 8631 says Lebanon Pike from downtown is moving. I love it. Traffic reports from the texters. Lebanon Pike from downtown is moving, but slow. One of the things that I wanted to run by you guys, and again, while you're stuck in traffic, if you want to call in and chat, 615-737-9986, or you can text in. 5513 says, I'm just obese. That can happen. It can be rough to be obese and deal with the heat and humidity. That's not fun. I have the body type of a lowland mountain gorilla without the fur. And so I feel you there. I agree. God intended us to fellowship. Yeah, I think this is okay. So how many of you guys remember like Wednesday night potlucks at church? Like that to me from my childhood was one of the biggest things that we did. I remember at the time, where did we go? It was Christ Community. I can't remember the church exactly. My memory is starting to go as I get older and try to parent. But they had like this fellowship hall kind of under the sanctuary and in this older church, and everybody would bring food and we would hang out and eat the food. And that was one of the more awesome things from my childhood. And then, break out and do your Wednesday night stuff. But like the whole point was like, we broke bread together. That was, as a kid, I knew. Tony says potlucks were the best time of my life. Amen. We can do that. Yes. You guys know where to find me. You can find my email. Meet folks for lunch in Chapel Hill. Typically, most days and during the work week, I'm in Franklin. I'm down here some days, but generally speaking, just tell me and we'll work it out. We'll figure out something because I think we got to do more of this stuff. Tony's point was like when Christians eat together, you kind of see, like, I might not listen to my dad. My dad would tell you I definitely didn't listen to my dad. But the other men at the church, this happens. As a father, I can tell you this. Other people will listen, like kids will listen to other parents. They a lot of times don't listen to their parents. So at church, like, I got to know those people. I got to see adults interact. I got to see how you behave. I got to see the difference between the way the adults interacted with each other, the way the kids interacted. And I think 1586 says do that kind of potluck stuff with neighbors too. I think that's a great idea. I got a clubhouse in my neighborhood where people can hang out and say, hey, anybody want to just bring food and eat it there? And I just need to just do that because I feel like if I can't make it all the things, then I won't start. And I got to get over that. I just got to say, okay, I'm going to bring some stuff. You should bring some stuff, and we can hang out. And that's how humans used to do lots of this stuff. And I think, and this kind of will dovetail with some of the other stuff I'm, going to bring up, but a lot of y'all know that we're a foster family, and our big thing is families who shows up, right? If you're at my table, I will feed you. And so what I need to make sure is that the door's open. You know what? Like, that's the hard part, to say, hey, I want you here at my table. I want you to fellowship, to spend time with you. Because most of us are like, I don't know, people are kind of weird right now. Are you sure that this is a good idea? I mean, I've seen what happens on the interwebs, and if reality is anything like that, I'm not sure I want to spend much time with people. And, for those of y'all who want my email, you can go look at my columns over the Tennessean. Usually the contact information's there, and you can find me that way. That's the easiest way. Or at D Cameron Smith on X. And, like I said, I can't meet up with everybody, but particularly if folks are trying to get together, that's what I want to do. I want to get those groups together, hang out, get to know you, because I think that's really important. And my time has freed up a little bit on Saturdays because I don't have youth sports anymore. It's all during the week. So it's a wild, wild time. But I just think, this is where churches have a real opportunity. Get away from the skinny jeans and fog machines. Get into the things that used to make church a big part of our community. It wasn't shuffle you in on a Sunday, get through all the stuff, and shuffle you out. It's, this is kind of where we spend time together. This is a convening space. And I think it is a big deal to bring that back. And so I'm here for it. We got to figure this out, as my schedule will permit, and my lovely wife will, heck, I'll drag them with me. There's like 7 of us, but we're wild. 2774 says no cell phones at my table. I think that's a great rule. I think and we say no devices, no games, but same deal. The other big one that I think is real important, and some of y'all have thought about this, some of you probably haven't, is don't put your cell phone on the table between you and another person. Just don't do it. Because what you're telling folks is this is between you and I. You're sending that signal. And so even more than that, we're just not doing it at the table at all. The phone doesn't sit on the table. It goes, and I know that sounds like a little thing, but we are so attached to our phones, so attached to our devices. The idea of human interaction we're losing it, folks. And I just remember some of the strawberry salads that I wasn't sure about, but dadgum, they were good. Some of the fried chicken, we would always know to get there early, and the women and children got first, and then the dudes got what was left. And man, when I was in that zone where I got to be early in the line, and I knew exactly which women at the church could cook and which dudes could grill, and I would get after it. I'm like, okay, I see it. I see it down the line. I know where I'm going. And those memories, the smells, the taste, the fellowship are just seared into my brain in a very, very positive way. And I don't know. I see the stories that you guys over there have, and I think that bringing that community hub model back to the church can bring life to that theology. And, Jesus set a great example in that, and going to rooms and places that a lot of other people wouldn't go. And I think that's something we should do. Right now, we need to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
the Tennessee Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solutions Center, that's what I was trying to say, is here for you when you need them. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy for Dr. Brian McLaughlin and our buddies at the Tennessee Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solutions Center. Say it again, Murph. Here's the deal. I sleep well despite the way that I started this conversation. I sleep well because of my FDA-approved mouthpiece that I wear on a nightly basis, thanks to Dr. Brian McLaughlin and the team at the Tennessee Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solutions Center. It's what they do, right? And they can fit you for one as well. If you're not sleeping well, if you snore, if you think you might have sleep apnea and you're not sure, get yourself a sleep test and let's find out. They can direct you in the right direction in that regard as well. And then they create a 3D scanned image of your mouth that they then utilize to create that mouthpiece. It's specific to your mouth. It goes in on a nightly basis. You don't notice it after a night or two, and you sleep better. It holds the jaw forward. You breathe better. You get more energy out of your sleep. You sleep through the night. You're not waking up constantly. This is what it's all about, friends. Sleeping better, getting more energy in the morning. That stoppage of snoring is an indicator that you stop breathing throughout the course of the night. And if you're noticing that, that's a very dangerous situation. It's the TMJ Solution Center with Dr. Brian McLaughlin and the rest of the team. Go to TennesseeSleep.com. That's TennesseeSleep.com and find out more. And I encourage you to schedule an appointment in Murfreesboro or Brentwood today.
Top Trump administration officials speaking in Memphis amid the Memphis Safe Task Force rollout. We'll let you hear some of it coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Oh, that's groovy. Well, man, y'all came out of the woodwork on the Super Talk text line, 615-737-9986. Just talking about potluck. Man, that brought back some strong memories for a lot of you guys. And I think it is really important that we stop, when we're going to do nincompoops. I already told you that. But in the final hour, I'd like to point out, I don't know if y'all have seen this, but I think AI is killing doom scrolling. All this random slop that is now all over the internet, like it is reminding me on how much we need reality. I mean, this stuff is getting so weird. And, I like to tell myself I have to do more social media than I do because of the job that I have and the work that I do, the writing, this kind of stuff. But the truth is, a lot of it's just freaking weird. It's just strange. It's bizarre. And yet I find myself, I'm trying to do better. It was actually Charlie Kirk that mentioned the idea of a phone Sabbath, like a tech Sabbath on the weekend where I think it was one evening from sundown until the next day at sunup, no technology. Like, I'm not going to use my phone. I'm going to put it down. And I think I've been trying, actually I almost left my phone this morning because I've been trying to put it down, put it on its charger, stay away from it. Like when I'm at home with my boys and my wife, not fiddling with it because it kills community. It absolutely, you don't even look up with the people that you're around, let alone your neighbors. So just throwing that out there for your consideration. It's something that I think we need to do. And Jim says, it's fun to bring your best food to the church. You know what? If you're not competing over your ability to cook, I'm not sure that you really are that good of a cook. I mean, every cook I know, they want to bring their best. And so when it was potluck, man, we weren't just, cashing it in and saying, random stuff. It was, this is the best. This is smoked ribs. This is, fish I caught, this week. Like it was pretty top flight stuff. And so I respect that. And, I come from a long line of dude cooks that, my grandfather, my dad, like my brother, like all of us love to cook. And so having opportunities to do that kind of stuff, now I got to feed 5 boys, which is like feeding like 37 adults every night for dinner. And, my wife shoulders the burden of that. But like we love that kind of stuff. And so the rule of potluck is you got to bring enough to cover your people. And then we kind of share. Like if you show up with like a little box of snacks and bring 10 people, the thing doesn't work. So like that's one of the rules that you got to follow if we're going to make it to work. Other than that, I mean, I don't think there are that many other rules. I think that as much as I want you guys to go over and read my stuff at the Tennessean, as much as I want you to listen to this radio show and the excellent host who love you dearly, I also want you to go out in the real world and interact with people and do stuff, and particularly get your kids to do it. There is what I did not realize was such a thing until my boys became teenagers was the amount of distraction that they have. When I was a teenage boy, the most interesting thing on the planet were girls. Like, I'll just say it like it is. And that to me was the most exciting thing in town was whatever the girls were doing, wherever they were, I would literally go to church because the girls were there. Now, man, they got YouTube, they got video games, they've got sports, there's everything. And that's the one thing I was not prepared for fathering in the modern era is, guys, like, wait a minute. Like the rules seem to have changed here. You are just very distracted about all the things. No wonder we're having population collapse issues. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we will do nincompoops in the news, and we'll rock this show on out. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
5:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And right now in Tennessee, Attorney General Pam Bondi just addressed law enforcement in Memphis amid the Memphis Safe Task Force rollout.
If you touch a police officer, you will be arrested. If you touch a federal police officer, it will be assaulting a federal officer. We're going to do everything we can to protect you so you can protect the citizens of Memphis. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for wearing the badge. We all care deeply about what you do, and we're here to help you and to have your backs like you always have ours.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller there too. Meanwhile, National Guard troops and vehicles seen arriving at the staging area today. Since the rollout on Monday, the task force is credited with 53 arrests, confiscation of 20 illegal firearms, locating a missing juvenile, and recovering a gun from a murder suspect's home. Hundreds of thousands of government workers reporting to their jobs without pay. Others told to stay home on day one of a government shutdown, with Democrats and Republicans blaming the other side. The Senate voted today again to end the government shutdown, but it was unsuccessful. Here's Olivia Rubin.
Today, essentially looking like a failure for any measure to fund the government to move forward. The next time lawmakers are expected to be back here to try again, not until Friday, day 3. Olivia Rubin, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
Now, Republicans going to need 8 Democrats to get their spending bill over the goal line and reopen the government when they do vote next. So far, they have only 3, John Fetterman, Catherine Cortez Masto, and Angus King, independent senator of Maine, who caucuses with Democrats. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. It's like a parking lot trying to get out of parts of downtown right now, and what is not helping are the crashes. We've got 440 eastbound past Nolensville, 40 eastbound at the airport. Look for 440 westbound past Hillsborough Pike, then 40 westbound at 2nd Avenue on the South Loop, and in Bellevue, 40 westbound right before exit 196. I'm Ken Weaver.
You know, I'll come to your pity party and I'll bring some spices from Savory Spice. How about that? Savory Spice is your one-stop shop for all things spice and seasoning and salt and pepper and just anything you can imagine that will liven up food in the kitchen. They've got it at Savory Spice. They've got mixes. They've got blends. Man, that taco seasoning, man, I don't know what they're doing, but it's really, really good. They've got Mexican spices. They've got international flavors. They've got something for every dish that you're cooking up in the kitchen. And if you're on the grill this holiday, if you're on the grill, fellas, if you're manning the grill for Labor Day, it's time to get to Savory Spice over the weekend and grab some deliciousness for the chops, deliciousness for chicken or for the burgers or whatever you happen to put on the grill, because they've got something for every taste. They've got something for you, the freshest of the fresh at Savory Spice. I love to say that they have something for every taste, and they have something for the cook in your life. Go to Savory Spice just off the square in Franklin. Tell them Holly, David, and the rest of the crew that Matt Murphy sent you, right next to Gray's Pharmacy, the one and only Savory Spice.
Well, now we're rocking out. Okay, Jackson, before we get to nincompoops in the news, Max has been waiting forever, and so I want to get to him real quick, if that works. All right. Max, what's going on?
Cameron, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great.
I enjoy when you sit in, and I enjoy your comments and your perspective. Wanted to let you know that I am a former juvenile court, general sessions court judge. I was a former member of the executive committee of the Tennessee Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges, chairman of the legislative committee, and worked extensively with the Department of Children's Services. And I commend you for your efforts and what you do as a foster parent. I probably have a unique appreciation for what that is. I did an effort to recruit foster families when I was on the bench, primarily through one of our major churches in our county, and we recruited 31 foster families in one push. I know that the Department of Children's Services folks have some excellent caseworkers. They
do.
also have some that are not so much. And
That's also true.
Just wanted to call and say that if there's anything that I can do to assist you in improving that effort in our state going forward with whoever the next governor, turns out to be, I wanted you to know that I'm probably uniquely familiar with that entire effort. The DCS, I used to know all the commissioners and was friends with many of them, and I'd like to give you my contact information, perhaps off the air, so that if I can be of assistance, I wanted to do that.
Sure. And if you can send in a text, or Jackson can get your contact information, that would be great, because I need all the help I can get. I had a great conversation with Senator Blackburn about DCS reforms, and one of the things that she asked directly, which I thought was really wise, was, hey, who are the people that we need to have in the room to have the conversation about how we get this headed in a better direction? And
I can give you some more stories and some success stories and some other things, and as I say, maybe I'm more uniquely postured to have some insight.
Sure. Well,
I'm all with you about trying to improve that process.
All right. Well, I'll have Jackson get your information, and I really appreciate the call. I think the big issue, to put a button on that one, community is really important, but how you take care of the least of these is even more important. And some of the young men that have made their way through my home have been through no fault of their own, some really awful circumstances. And if we look at these kids, and they're, call it 8,000 kids at any given time in the system in Tennessee, and if we say, hey, be happy and well fed, good luck, we need to sort of look at our conviction and see whether we really mean it. And I'll tell you, there's some churches doing amazing stuff right now in this space. Church of the City has been excellent. It's they just opened a campus at Nolensville High School that my family now attends. But we had been part of the Church of the City foster care ministry for years, even though we didn't go to church there, because they were that dedicated to surrounding families, foster families, and helping them do what they do, and saying, hey, we know what you're doing is hard. That's the first thing I tell anybody about fostering is it's really tough. And it's not for everybody, but those people that have been called to do that, they need all the help they can get. They need a community around them that says, hey, we got your back. And it means the world to me to have those type of people in our lives. Speaking of having people's backs, I am prepared with Florida Man Jackson. So, I mean, it's that time,
Nincompoops in the news.
Well, there's a lot of nincompoopery, and I mean, wow. I've got one. Since I never know who wins because I'm in and out, I'm just gonna go first. I think that works.
That seems like a dictatorship.
Yep. Well, I mean, that's fair. I'm not going to argue with you.
Is this what happens in a government shutdown, Ken?
I've been told that I am OMB and you have to do what I want. So it's fine.
What's OMB?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's fine. It's government stuff, science. Everything's cool. So I will go, and then that will give you guys any time you need to find better options than this one, which I always go with Florida Man. That is the rule for me.
That's a good bet.
It's always awesome.
Yeah.
I also like the headlines that say what we know, which is like we're gathering the facts about this. Polk City, Florida. Nowhere is safe from being burglarized. Not even the Polk County Sheriff's substation. Someone broke into the Polk City Sheriff's Station. What did they take? You're not going to believe this. They took my picture. Judd, the sheriff's office identified the suspect as Mark Byram, 34, Polk City. Sheriff said Byram can be seen on surveillance video approaching the building, walking in through the front door. Around 3 minutes later, he's seen walking out with something in his hands. He stole my picture, Judd said. Judd's picture was stolen right off the lobby wall, along with the major's and captain's pictures, too. When Byram was found in jail on another theft charge, the sheriff explained his reasoning. We went down there, and he said, my brain was a little foggy that night. I was using a little drugs. But I think I stole those pictures, wrapped them in a towel, and put them by a tree. And sure enough, he did.
This is the sheriff?
Yes, it is the sheriff. And he said the pictures are no worse for the wear, and he is in jail with some more charges.
Wow.
So the sheriff and his command staff are back up on the wall where they belong, greeting everyone as they walk in. But, man, it is a rough day in Florida when you just go into the sheriff's office, steal their pictures, and then just kind of have a foggy memory of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wake up curled up next to it. What did I do last night?
Yeah, this guy, you can see the still shot of the video is of him, and it appears he's in sweatpants with one leg up, one leg down, and no shirt on. So everything checks out. Little bit of drugs. Just a little bit of drugs goes
Just
a long
a
way.
smidge.
Yep.
A pinch.
Yep, that's what I got. Okay, Jackson.
Oh, my turn?
Your turn, Brother Jackson.
All right. We're going to Nebraska. A naked man arrested outside of the University of Nebraska-Lincoln's College of Business after jumping onto multiple vehicles. A naked man was arrested outside the College of Business Monday morning after jumping onto multiple vehicles. A video of the incident shows the naked man jumping onto the cars outside of the College of Business near 14th and Vine Streets. The man yelled, "Jesus, Jesus," at a car full of women, and "Will you be my wife?" According to a bystander. According to bystanders, following, he started pounding on the car's windows and sitting on the car. McCown saw the man jumping onto a white SUV and a red university pickup truck, as well as banging onto car windows. A video of the man shows the man surrendering to police officers in the middle of the street.
Will you be my wife? That's not a great proposal.
It's not really a, there is some bad first lines out there. I think this one might take the cake.
That was in Nebraska.
Yeah, it's all cornfields up there. They're probably the most exciting thing that's happened there in years.
That is very exciting.
God knows it's not the football team.
All right. Is that it, Brother Jackson?
That's all I got, Brother Weaver.
All right, boys. I'm going to take you to Rhea County, Tennessee, where deputies arrested a suspended coach at the high school's home game Friday and charged him with public drunkenness and trespassing.
How bad was the football team, Ken?
Well, you know what? They didn't even get to that, so it must be pretty bad. The arrest of John Lovingood at Eagle Field came after school officials told police about a man who was reportedly intoxicated and causing a disturbance on the other side of the stadium. An arrest report says they had received complaints of a male subject being very loud and disruptive, walking back and forth behind the band members in the visitor section. Both school officials investigated. They learned that the man causing the disruption was John Lovingood, who was a coach at Rhea County High, as well as a world history teacher.
Wow.
Apparently, he had been explicitly instructed not to be on school property because he had been suspended earlier in the day.
What'd he do?
It does not say.
He might have been drunk.
Yeah, my guess was he was drunk.
That's a good bet. So he was led off the field, given a sobriety test, apparently in one of the locker rooms.
That's good.
And admitted to drinking he admitted to, quote, consuming an alcoholic beverage about 3 hours later, but also consuming a prescription drug called Suboxone, which is typically prescribed to address opioid withdrawal symptoms. So the test was finished. Lovingood was arrested and charged with public intoxication and criminal trespassing. He was taken to the Rhea County Jail, where the jail's website indicates he was able to make bond. But they did not disclose what he was suspended for, but it's a good bet it might have involved some sort of chemical.
Well, at least he didn't steal the pictures of the principal in the process.
Well, and it was the visiting band. It wasn't the home band.
I just don't know what possesses people to, like.
I don't either.
Wow.
But the scene in, what is the name of the movie now? Gene Hackman and Dennis Hopper, the basketball movie.
Oh, Hoosiers.
Yeah, Hoosiers, where Dennis Hopper, comes onto the court in the middle of the game and to contest a call, and he's obviously drunk, embarrassing his son. That's what that brings to mind for me.
Isn't this the beginning of the Mighty Ducks movie, too?
Yeah. I mean, Gordon Bombay, he's my guy. I'm a big Emilio Estevez fan for that Mighty Ducks movie.
I should have looked up to see who won that game.
Well, if you're that drunk at a game, you should not be. Okay, we're done. How you vote? What's going on?
Jackson had the naked guy.
I had the pitcher stealer, and Ken had
a drunk coach.
The drunk suspended coach.
Okay. The mid football team is actually pretty good, apparently.
Oh, really?
Who knew? We've got those who always like the naked guys, which is just weird. And I don't know. I mean, it looks they want you to say Ray, Ken.
Oh, is it Ray County?
Right, Ray.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If you don't,
that could be a losing mistake.
Rat's butt.
Rat's butt.
Oh, I mean Rat's Butte.
Butte. Okay. Well, thank you for playing. We'll tally these results. We got to take a break. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
Hey, friends, Matt Murphy for Alpha and Omega. Alpha and Omega, not new to the managed services industry. They've been around for a while. They've been in the computer industry for almost 30 years now. Since 1998, they've been helping people, and a lot has changed during that time, obviously. Well, here's the deal, friends. Things have just gotten more dangerous for those in business, especially when it comes to computers, because everybody's online. I mean, your network is accessible if you're online. That means that there are cyber hackers trying to get into your information, and they're trying to use it as ransom against you. 14 successful ransomware attacks happen every day. 14. And if you're a business owner, you're vulnerable. Call Alpha and Omega. Michael and his team can protect you. They do everything regarding computers, from setup to management to IT to printers to everything involving cybersecurity. They get it done. They want to be your go-to source. Call now for a free quote. 615 784-0096, 784-0096, or A&O.net, A&O.net.
Memphis police get a pep talk from top Trump administration officials amid the Memphis Safe Task Force rollout. We'll let you hear that at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, when I look at it, I think maybe Ken won, but he also got disqualified.
Yeah, I mispronounced the
county
name.
Yeah.
Why did I say Rhea?
Rhea.
Why do I do that? I mean, it's spelled R-H-E-A. I should have known that's Ray County.
Yeah. You should have, but I mean, you got wild. You got disqualified. So I guess I give it to Jackson. I mean,
Oh, he had the naked guy.
Nudity wins. I mean, welcome to America in 2025.
How'd you find a naked guy in Nebraska?
They're there. They just are. You know, it's weird. I do. I was actually. Y'all are gonna love this. I've created a series of quotes. Okay, they're either completely fake and made up, or they're real quotes from the U.S. Constitution or the Declaration of Independence. And so, Ken and Jackson, here as we close out this hour, I'm going to read some of these. And y'all got to tell me, you guys can guess too online, whether they're real or they're fake. Okay?
Oh, I'm gonna be bad at this.
Okay. So I'm going to read these, and you got to tell me real or fake.
All right.
I'm going to try to find one that's very clearly like not one you might have heard of, because some of them you should just know. That where a law is not founded upon the consent of the people, and where the makers of the law are not answerable for its ill consequence, the said law is void and without effect.
That is not.
That is not.
Correct. That is false. But didn't it sound very real?
Sounded very official.
Right.
Well, it does, but I mean, it's like it kind of cancels itself out.
Okay. Yeah, it does.
He's going to get us, Ken.
Okay. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of Congress, accept any present emolument, office, or title of any kind whatsoever from the king, prince, or a foreign state.
That's in.
That's in there.
It is. That's the emoluments clause of the Constitution. Let's see. What else do I have here? A nation of laws must ever maintain that the rights of the many shall not be made subject to the transient desires of the few, nor that the fundamental liberties diminished by the tyranny of convenience.
Say that one again.
Yeah.
Okay. A nation of laws must ever maintain that the rights of the many shall not be made subject to the transient desires of the few, nor the fundamental liberties diminished by the tyranny of convenience.
That is not in there.
That's in there.
Jackson got it. That's fake.
Woo!
Son of a biscuity.
Ken, I guessed.
Way to go, Brother Jackson.
Okay.
Have you seen this Fat Bear Week stuff?
Yes. What is it? Chunk 32.
Yeah, Chunk 32 one.
Oh, I love Fat Bear Week.
It's great, man.
It's so funny.
I'm like, what are you guys?
This guy had a jaw injury.
How did he manage to get that fat? I don't know. Okay, last one. And no new tax or impost shall be levied upon the citizenry unless the expenditure is fixed, certain, and of benefit to the whole, and the necessity thereof clearly and publicly demonstrated.
That is not in there.
Ken?
Now, what's that again? I'm sorry.
Oh, well,
Too late.
We're running out of time.
He can
Ken.
read it again. Read it one more time.
And no new tax or impost shall be levied upon the citizenry unless the expenditure is fixed, certain, and of benefit to the whole, and the necessity thereof clearly and publicly demonstrated.
Yes.
No, that is fake too.
Woo! Good grief.
Well, it just goes to show that if you make things that sound sort of Constitution-y, we can fool a lot of people. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show. You're listening to Super Talk 99.7.
Six o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And right now in Tennessee, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller addressing law enforcement in Memphis amid the Memphis Safe Task Force rollout.
I see the guns and badges in this room. You are unleashed. The handcuffs that you're carrying, they're not on you anymore. They're on the criminals. And whatever you need to get it done, we're going to get it done. State, local, federal. On President Trump's promise, we are going to get it done. Thank you.
And that's Stephen Miller, Deputy White House Chief of Staff, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth were there too. National Guard troops and vehicles, by the way, arriving at the staging area today in Memphis. And since the rollout on Monday, the 12 federal and state agencies already there whom the National Guard will support is credited with 53 arrests, confiscating 20 illegal firearms, locating a missing juvenile, and recovering a gun from a murder suspect's home in just 2 days. The federal government shutdown will last until Friday at least. The U.S. Senate voted on a Republican bill to reopen everything today, but it failed. And word is that senators went home for the day. They won't be back at work tomorrow in observance of the Jewish holiday Yom Kippur. Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance took the podium at today's White House press briefing and said they might have to start shedding jobs.
Because we are in a government shutdown, we are going to have to lay some people off if the shutdown continues. We don't like that. We don't necessarily want to do it, but we're going to do what we have to keep the American people's essential services continuing to run.
Democrat leader Chuck Schumer.
When Democrats had the White House, the Senate, and the House, when Democrats had the majority in this chamber, when I was majority leader, we never had one shutdown in 4 years. Not one. You know why? Because we worked with our Republican colleagues to find a way to keep the government funded.
So we'll see if the next vote is on Friday. Another sign of a weakening employment market. ABC's Jim Ryan says the economy's been shedding rather than creating jobs.
Analysts were anticipating 48,000 positions to have been added to private sector payrolls in September, but payroll processor ADP says the economy actually lost 32,000 jobs last month. The Bureau of Labor Statistics monthly jobs report is due out Friday. It might not be issued at all because of the government shutdown.
And the nation's largest retailer making changes to food ingredients.
Walmart says its customers want food with simpler, more familiar ingredients, so it's removing synthetic dyes and over 30 other ingredients from its private label brands. These ingredients include some preservatives and fat substitutes. Health Secretary Robert Kennedy had already announced plans to phase out 8 synthetic food dyes from the U.S. food supply. Walmart says this change will roll out over the coming months and should be complete by January 2027. Brian Clark, ABC News.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, we're still a parking lot getting out of the downtown area, sometimes getting into the downtown area. Right now, it's complete stop and go westbound to 40 from the 24 split to downtown, northbound 65 to 440, and then looks like westbound South Loop for a while there before you get to I-40 and the 65 North Loop. Crashes to contend with, 440 westbound past Hillsborough Pike, 21st Avenue. In Murfreesboro, we've got the left lane blocked by a crash, 24 eastbound before Joe B. Jackson Parkway. Back here in Antioch, Bell Road just west of 24. Then in Berry Hill, 65 southbound before Armory Drive. And on the South Loop now, got a crash westbound at 2nd Avenue. I'm Ken Weaver.
Welcome to the final hour of the Matt Murphy Show on this Wednesday. Thank you for being with me. I'm Cameron Smith. Matt is at his nephew's graduation from boot camp. And so he will be out the next couple days, and I will be in. So I want to talk about what you guys want to talk about. We've been talking shutdown, 7th Congressional, potlucks, culture, a bunch of different things. We did our nincompoops, and it looks like nudity won again. But I want to, one of the things that keeps being brought up to me, has anybody seen DHS's social media post lately? The Department of Homeland Security? It is some of the weirdest stuff.
The Pokemon thing?
No, this one, it's like, it looks like a AI generated, like what my boys would refer to as a Giga Chad. And it says communist denied, terrorist denied, globalist denied. And then it's like a picture of the Statue of Liberty saying, protect her, recapture the America your forefathers created, prevent foreign infiltration. I mean, they're like putting up stuff that, like, it's just so weird. And I don't know if anybody's like, if this is like an intern run amok, or like Kristi Noem is getting happy. Like, it's just very, very, very strange. And I think obviously we need to enforce our immigration laws. We need to have an orderly system of immigration. But like the idea, like Stephen Miller was tweeting out, retweeting this and saying, stop foreign infiltration. I'm like, do you guys know what the inscription on the Statue of Liberty says? Like, have y'all thought about that? The irony of some of the, anyway, I just found that, incidentally, that inscription is called the New Colossus, and it will be familiar to some of y'all. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore, send these, the homeless tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. So it's kind of a weird thing to be looking at the Statue of Liberty and saying, we're not a nation of immigrants. Again, orderly system of immigration. We should enforce the immigration law 100%, but let's not like kind of forget who we are in the process, because I think that really, really matters. 615-737-9986. That is the Super Talk text line. You can call in as we round this out. I wanted to take just a minute to go over some of the things in a little more detail that I mentioned earlier, which were some of the DCS reforms. I know a lot of you guys are, 8695 said, I'm tired and poor too. I feel you there. Can I have $1 for every time Cameron said like today? No, you cannot. But like, that's cool. I did that intentionally. I think we need to put families first when it comes to DCS, and I get it. Not everybody's a foster family. Not everybody is involved with this system. But here's why I think bringing up DCS as a potential reform area in Tennessee is really important. Conservatives talk all the time about family, the importance of family, protecting the family. We understand the cultural forces that are eating our kids. What is it Elon Musk calls it? The woke mind virus. That's, let's be honest, a lot of higher ed has become a program factory to, this is why America is wrong and terrible, and this is why you should feel bad about who you are, and America's really not that great. I mean, it's not hard to go find that stuff. I think that step one needs to be supporting families, helping keep families intact. And then when that's not possible, making sure that kids have a safe place and a family. Several of you have mentioned this over time, and I think it's really, really important to mention this. DCS is not, it's full of people. So it's not a perfect entity by any stretch of the imagination. it makes mistakes. It makes mistakes sometimes when it gets involved with families. And I understand that this is why the political folks stay away, right? They're like, ugh, man, when we're talking about families and how families treat kids and, whether those kids need to stay with the parents, whether they need to be in the system, it's ugly, man. This is not happy stuff, which is why I think it's important. As communities, we need to engage this space, figure out what's going on. DCS's budget for fiscal year 2025 in Tennessee was $1.5 billion. I mean, it is state, federal, and other funds, and it's about 44% was allocated to foster care and residential services, with a lot of spending on case management, adoption, prevention, meaning like, hey, how can we help you and support you in keeping your family together? And this is where I go back to the conversation that we were having about community. It is critically important that communities, churches, civic associations look around their community and say, hey, who needs help? Who can we help? Because the idea that the state is somehow going to fix this, that the state is going to get this right, is nuts. The state can't be a parent. That's crazy talk. The idea that, the state is going to somehow manage your family for you. No, that's just not going to work that way. And so we need folks to come alongside, and some of it might be basic stuff like, hey, need to do a little financial management. You need to learn a bit about how to handle money. Can we help you figure that out? You've had an illness or sickness. You need help with transportation. I mean, there's a lot of things that ultimately kill families. And, there's really nothing new under the sun here, but we need to do a better job of how can we mitigate some of those things? How can we support people? How can we say, hey, you know what? My car broke down. I've got kids that need food, and a lot of us, we're prideful people. We don't want to ask for help. And the flip side of that is a lot of us don't look for people to help. And we hope that the state takes care of it. And this is where I think we've got to have a different thought of say, okay, well, the state can do some things. But when you have 8,000 to 9,000 children in foster care in Tennessee, it is not a small undertaking. And we need to have a real tough conversation that, hey, some kids have been so traumatized and have some rough stuff going on that they can't be safe in a traditional home. I don't love that, but I've engaged with some young men that are deeply troubled, need some help that you can't provide in a traditional home, and there are always going to be some of those kids. And so we need to take care of them too, but that's a little bit of a different animal. What I'm talking about is the kids that can be placed in a home. Why are they not? Why do we have kids? And the truth is, we've had kids sleeping in state office buildings. We tried to address this, and it's still a thing. But we've still had more and more kids that need places, particularly the world that my family engages with, teenage boys. I can tell you, teenage boys are a lot. But we need homes. We work with youth villages. We need homes for some of these young men. They need the support at this vulnerable time. If any of you are parents of teenagers, you understand how trying to figure out who you are is really tough anyway. With your bio kids, it is tough anyway. When you have been abandoned or gone through some of the worst circumstances life can offer, and you're trying to figure out who you are, it is insane. And I think those of us who are pro-life, of which I count myself in that number, ardently pro-life, we have to be consistent here and say, you know what? I don't want the state to do this. I want to step in and provide the home and context and parenting for some of these kids who are not my own. But I'm going to make them my own so that they have a shot. And that's why this is such an important area for us to engage. And again, nobody likes to talk about it. You want to know why? Because nobody makes a lot of money off of it. there's not a constituency here that says, okay, we can make you money. We have a vested interest. We got legions of lobbyists for kids to come in and advocate for them to the legislature. It's us, man. And so, again, I'm not suggesting that everybody needs to run out and become a foster parent. What I am saying is we got to be involved with the solution here and understand that we need to practice what we preach consistent with what we claim to believe, whether that's our faith, for Christians, for Catholics, for down the list, any faith that you have. I'm not aware of any faith that says, hey, we don't take care of kids. But for me as a Christian, if I say, you know what, I really hope that those kids have a good shot, and I can and choose to do nothing, I just struggle with that. And I think more of us need to struggle with that and say, okay, I maybe can't foster, I can't do this, but I can support a family that does. I can, do some of the amazing things that churches in the area, again, I'll mention Church of the City, has done. They've got I think it's a $43 million facility they're building off 96 there in Franklin. And this is truly God's work, okay? And I think the fact that this is, I'll give Governor Lee credit, Commissioner Quinn, they've tried to tackle some of these stuff, made some progress in like caseworker retention, like they've done some things. But unfortunately, we're in a situation where incremental progress here is not going to work. Like, we've got to really think through how to do this differently. You've got about 4,000 employees in this agency that a lot of them want to do good work, and some of them, it's just a thing. And sorting those out and supporting the ones that do and helping the others find other opportunities, looking at the central office and saying, hey, when's the last time that you were on the front lines of working with families, working with kids? If you don't know what that's like, and you're a little out of practice, maybe we need to go spend some frontline times and build the whole system from the front lines up versus the bureaucracy down. Matt's been real patient, and so I want to see what he has to say here. What you got, Matt?
I'm just wondering how you sit here and defend an organization, and that's what I call DCS, who destroys families as well. They destroyed mine.
I'm sorry to hear that.
On a false claim. A claim that I was never prosecuted nor arrested for by law enforcement. They cleared me of all charges, and what happened was I went through a separation with my wife, and she had a friend of hers say that I molested my child, which never happened. DCS still followed through with that claim to the point that they took all 4 of my children, which I had custody with. They are now spread throughout the state of Tennessee in 3 different counties. I got the one that the claim was made against back because she chose to come home after 4 years of her telling them my daddy never done anything.
Well, I mean, I appreciate it, and
how do you defend that group? And I think one foster, I got supervised visits one time at a foster family.
Mm-hmm.
Those people used drugs and drank more than anybody in my family ever did, and yet my children were safe there.
Yeah, I'm not defending DCS. I'm suggesting that we have to, take a top-down review of DCS and make sure that situations where, if what you're claiming is accurate, if that's
and I contacted Marsha Blackburn. I tried to contact Governor Bill Lee.
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting.
And she's sitting here saying that she wants DCS reform. She didn't even respond back to me.
Well, it sounds like you want it reformed too, right?
Yeah, something needs to happen.
Yeah. I think we're on the same page in that regard. I mean, obviously.
I think the people need to be held accountable. They changed their story 4 times.
Sure.
First, I was a child molester, and then it went from that to emotional and medical neglect, which I proved that wrong. Then it went to child abuser, proved that wrong. And then it went to environmental hazard. these people, they get up there in court, and it's not only DCS, it's the juvenile judges as well. And that's why when that one juvenile judge called in and said he's very familiar, well, I'm sure they are, but they go along with it. And he said that he knew that there were good and bad. What did he do about the bad?
Well, I think that's what he's saying. And Matt, I appreciate the call. I mean, I think what the judge who called in was saying is we've got to figure out a way to sort fact from fiction. We've got to have a way to understand what caseworkers and foster homes and folks like that are the kind that we need. And we need to get more folks that are like that and have some accountability when that's not the case. I mean, there are clear standards and things like that. Part of the challenge right now is we need more families. We need more people that are willing to shoulder this load. We'll continue the conversation when we come back. We got to take a break. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
Friends, if you own land and you're looking to do something with it, or perhaps you want to add value to it, might I recommend an incredible post-frame building from Stoltz Co. They are the leading provider of post-frame buildings in Middle Tennessee and beyond. Stoltz Co. is the company that delivers first-class customer service with the creation of any post-frame building you can imagine, such as a pole barn, a garage, an equestrian space, an event space, or, yes, a barn dominium. Folks live in these post-frame buildings. The barn dominiums are incredible. You just need to see them to understand them. When you go to StoltzCo.com, I'll spell that for you in just a moment, StoltzCo.com, you can see a future home. You can see someplace to turn into a she shed or a man space. Whatever you're looking to do, perhaps an in-law suite on your property. It will raise the value of your property, and it will give you great memories for years and years to come. Friends, go to STOLTZCO.com. That's StoltzCo.com, or give them a call and sit down and talk to them today about what you desire, what you dream. If you can dream it, they can do it at StoltzCo. 615-622-5992, 622-5992 for StoltzCo.
Man, time flies when you're having fun. I appreciate you guys. A couple on the Super Talk text line, couple of comments about the Statue of Liberty and my comment earlier about the new Colossus and that quote that I read on the air. It's just an interesting thing for me because, I've done the 23andMe stuff and the ancestry things to see kind of where my people come from. And, I'd like to make it sound more exciting, but, we came over from England and didn't go very far and hung out in the South. So at some point, I trace my lineage back to people. Now, they may have been here a real long time and not moved very far, but I don't fundamentally hate the idea of immigration. I think a orderly system of immigration is really important. I think it's good for a population to bring in new ideas and stuff like that, and new people. And I like the idea of America as a melting pot. I think we've kind of decided that, oh, well, we're not going to enforce the law. That's bad. But I just think we got to be careful around this notion of immigration is inherently bad, because I don't think it is. There are some immigrants like Tren de Aragua and folks like that, some people who come here without authorization and do horrible things. And we should enforce the law and we should deport them. But the idea of, hey, somebody wants to make a better life in America and they go through the right channels and do the right thing, I think we should welcome immigrants. I think it, again, should be a reasonable, measured system. But the idea of immigration is inherently bad, I just don't see that. And it's a little bit weird for most of us to, at some point, trace our lineage to immigrants to be against that. That's all I'm saying. I'm not suggesting that we need to have open borders or we shouldn't enforce immigration law. I'm simply saying that we just need to think about where we come from and have a system that makes sense. That's all. We've got to take another break. We got a half hour left, and we'll get to your calls about DCS. We'll finish out some of these calls. I'm sure you'll hear some more 7th Congressional District ads that are completely wild. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy, and I absolutely love Grace Point Healthcare. Modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. It's the right way to do it, a direct pay format. And right now, I want to tell you an update on the basic SmartCare plan. Remember, folks, thanks to the big, beautiful bill, you sign up for the SmartCare plan, and you can pay for this through your HSA account. That's right. Your HSA account can take care of your SmartCare plan, the monthly cost of that, at Grace Point Healthcare. Pricing is as follows: $99 a month for adults, $79 a month for children, or you can sign up for the family plan and receive 10% off for each additional family member after the first additional enrollee. Ask them about all of these things when you make the call that so many have made to Grace Point Healthcare at 599-6868, 599-6868. Located in the heart of Franklin and worth the drive from anywhere, Grace Point Healthcare truly does deliver on their promises, and you don't have to be beholden to the insurance company to get quality care. Frankly, I would encourage them for anyone, but right now, this is the time of year where kids are going in for sports physicals, and you can get one for $99. If you're traveling internationally, you can get a $150 travel visit. Grace Point is a complete international travel immunization clinic. That's right, $150, and they'll take care of all of it for you at Grace Point Healthcare. Once again, Grace Point Healthcare, modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way.
Welcome back. I'm Cameron Smith, filling in for Matt. We don't have much time left, but I appreciate the time that you've given me today. It's been very good. Several comments on the Super Talk text line, 615-737-9986. I'm not opposed to immigration. It's what we're founded on, as you said. However, there have to be exceptions. I think what he's talking about is, hey, there is bad immigration. And what I mean by that, I've talked about MS-13, Tren de Aragua. We've talked about people that don't follow the rules. we don't need to support that. We should enforce the law. And I think that's where a lot of Democrats are really wrong here. It's this idea of, well, we should support lawlessness. No, we should enforce the law, and we should have a process that's consistent with our values as Americans. Because what I was trying to point out, and Sandra made some good points, that, look, I'm not an immigrant. I was born here. My parents were born here. But at some point, my probably a lot of greats, grandparents weren't. And they immigrated to the U.S., had kids here, and, you know, those kids married and had kids, and, you know, then you get to me. And so an orderly system of immigration is something that America has benefited for a long time. And I think we just need to be very careful in painting with an extremely broad brush and saying, well, all immigrants are like Tren de Aragua. Well, that's false. We know that. And it's the, you know, wild online rhetoric and crazy stuff that, you know, makes us weird. In the same breath that we should say, hey, enforce the law and make sure that, you know, if that's the law, we need to prosecute people who violate the law. We need to enforce the law, and not whatever the lawless left decides to do, which, you know, for frankly a generation now has been, nah, we don't really want to. That's where folks have made some real big mistakes here. And I think that's a fair take, and I appreciate all your comments on there. And somebody said, this audience hasn't seen American Tail in a while. Well, I remember Feifel. So I know all about immigration because of that movie. He was a mouse, but he was an immigrant mouse. And, you know, I think there's a whole generation of millennials who learned about immigration from American Tail. So there you go. Yeah, I got that reference. Back to some of the DCS stuff. Don, I got a few minutes, so I'll get to you. You've been really patient. What you got on DCS, Don?
Yeah, I'll try to be real quick. I went through a separation and then a divorce, but during the separation, my wife at the time took me to court to get a restraining order against me, just on the basis that I was a veteran and she feared for her life because of my military training. And she was granted the protection order, and my kids were taken from me. And I tried to explain my side of the story about how she was selling food stamps. You know, she was on drugs, and they didn't want to hear any of it. So when she finally got bad enough, she had to go to rehab. I ended up back with my kids unexpectedly, and I went to get a little bit of help. And because I was a male, I was turned away. I feel like sometimes, you know, they don't give the father the same as they do the mother. I feel like, however, they are starting to get better about those things. And if we just pull together as a country and figure out how to better these situations and tell our stories, maybe we can come up with an answer, you know?
Yeah, Don, I appreciate the call, and I think he's spot on. You know, most families that find themselves in these bad situations, they're not excited about it. They don't want to. They don't want to be where they are. No, I don't think anybody wants DCS involved in their family. Sometimes it's unfortunately necessary, but then it's how do we help you out, get you back on your feet, get you in a situation where you can do the things you need to do to be a successful family, because there is no substitute for your family. I can love on the boys in my care as hard as I try, but I can't replace a father or mother that they were born to, right? And I don't try. Like, that's not my role, but I can provide a supporting, loving environment for them where they can thrive. And I think it's really important to know that the goal should always, and Tennessee's been pretty clear about this, the goal in this situation is to try to reunify families, to try to build up families. And I think working through the bad situations to get people to a better place is the best thing we could do for a family. because I think most dads and moms want to keep their kids. They want to be there for them. And, sometimes they make choices that have consequences. Sometimes other people do. And I think it's important that, there are consequences in life. But we need to understand the core of, if we can bring families together, if we can keep them intact, we should. And they're the bedrock of our communities, and they're the bedrock of our state. And so if we're not serious about supporting families, and I'm not talking about just like, when there's drugs or, bad family situation, I'm talking about, hey, and Senator Blackburn's been all over this, and I think it's really important. What's technology doing to our families? What's its impact? We've got to ask some tough questions here. I mean, there are things that we regulate and we say, and you're talking a free market conservative here. But there are things like, for example, tobacco, alcohol, that we've said, and in Tennessee, pornography. We've said, hey, these things aren't okay for developing children. We need to put some restrictions on that. And I think when it comes to social media and technology, we need to be thinking about these things. And we need to have some real tough conversations, because there's too many of us that just give devices to our kids and then say, hey, good luck. All right. And it literally warps their brains. A couple other things that I just kind of wanted to throw out there for consideration. I do think it's very important that families that are foster families know what's going on. And if there's material information that they need to know, Tennessee has full disclosure laws, and we need to make sure that those are enforced and adequate so that parents can make good parenting decisions. You have confidentiality agreements as foster families that you're not going to disclose things about kids in your care for any range of reasons. But you need to be able to make informed decisions. And that's one of the things, information technology, knowing information about these kids, knowing what they've been through, just for treatment and care, is something we got to do a better job in across the board. How in the world can you work through getting a family the help it needs and supporting that family if you don't even really know what happened, and you don't know what's going on, and you don't know what the trauma is that these children are dealing with? It's a really bad situation. And again, we've got to do better, and there are no lobbyists for these kids. There's nobody getting in there and saying, we got to do this. We got to help them. Some of the stuff that I thought was really creative, looking at other states, you want bonding experiences for families that are, working with kids that weren't born into their family. Hey, how about, free hunting and fishing license? We want people to outside. There's a lot less of that happening. Give them opportunities like that. There's a lot of little things you can do that go a long way. And I think those are really, really important. And I will tell you, one of the biggest things that I think we need to look at and reform, you know what all these thousands of caseworkers spend a lot of their time doing? Transportation. They are basically glorified drivers who would otherwise love to help the kids work through trauma and help them, be prepared for life. I mean, these disruptions set them back again and again and again, and they need actual support. And we got a lot of folks doing driving. So look, I love public-private partnerships, things like that. Let's try to get Uber and Lyft to say, hey, you have this teen thing you rolled out. Is there any way that we can, get that so that it meets thresholds, so that it's safe for kids in state care, that we can help families with transportation logistics and things like that? That would help out a lot. It would take a lot of the burden off that isn't necessarily treatment time and support time, and, get that assistance out there. So there's a lot of things that we can do. I mean, even it's required in Tennessee to have financial literacy, training as part of graduation. Like, you got to have that. Well, why don't we work to set up accounts? We did the Trump accounts at the big, beautiful bill. Why don't we have accounts for these kids so that they have something that when some of them age out of the system, they've got a little bit of a a buffer, right? We can work with some financial institutions and do some matching and stuff like that and give them a chance so that they don't fall into homelessness, so they don't fall into crime. Because a lot of times, yeah, there's some folks who are just criminals and they make bad decisions. There's also some people who don't have enough saved up to deal with a system shock like a car breaking down or a really bad bill that they weren't expecting, and then things just start to fall apart. We need to be aware of that reality and come up with some common sense things that, one, don't increase the size and scope of government, but give people a fighting chance and a jumping off point. I think that's a really, really important thing to do, and it's something that I think can make us all better. We've only got a couple minutes to wrap up. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
Talk about my buddies at the Glock store. Last week, we talked about the AccuShoot LFX system being demoed at the Glock store. Dan Mandis went out to try it. I am so bummed that my week was so compacted that I was not able to get out there. I am bummed out. Dan Mandis loved it. Well, on Saturday, the capper for the week, AccuShoot LFX held their first international shooting competition, and the Glock store was one of 5 teams competing around the world. And I was not surprised that Mitch Young has personally trained me. He is the range and training manager of the Glock store. And how about that? He can train you, too. So Mitch is my trainer. He can be your trainer at the Glock store when you go to shoot270.com. He won first place. First place around the globe. Now, I've seen him shoot, and that's no surprise to me. What did surprise me is that his teammate, Dave, who just started training with Mitch and his crew a little over a month ago, came in 3rd worldwide. So not only is Mitch as accurate as you can find in the world, he's training his folks to be as accurate as him. Now, he did go on to the Glock store to shoot drills on the AccuShoot LFX on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, but still, he's been in training for a month and coming in 3rd worldwide. That's pretty cool. He was shooting a Glock 47 with some Glock recommended performance parts, and 1 month of Glock store training and 3rd in a worldwide competition is pretty darn cool. That's the type of training that you get at the one and only Glock store, at the incomparable shoot270.com indoor range. And it's why I recommend them. It is proof in the pudding, as my grandma used to say. Minutes away from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Glock store.
Welcome back. Short time now. We only got a couple minutes left in the show. Thank you guys for being here. Y'all have been awesome today. And I really do appreciate all the invitations to get together. I will try to get to as many as I can. Like I said, if you email me, it's a little bit easier to get a hold of me. I know many of you want Jackson and Ken Weaver to join. I am a terrible coordinator of schedules, but I'm sure they'd love to hang out with you as well. Well, some of you maybe not. I don't know. It could get weird. Linda has been very patient. Linda, we don't have much time, but I want to get to you and get your thoughts on DCS. What you got, Linda?
Hey, thank you. So I'm an adoptive mom. I adopted my daughter when she was 10.
Awesome.
She did have 2 siblings, and we wanted to adopt all 3. DHR refused. They insisted on having them adopted out separately. That's really my big issue with DCS is why can't they keep the kids together? Now, this was in Alabama. I live in Tennessee now.
Sure.
Now, fast forward, my daughter, once she became a legal adult, she decided she wanted to go out on her way. Well, that was a big mistake. She ended up pregnant. She came back home with me and had my granddaughter. And then it ended up, when my granddaughter was 8 months old, leaving and going back to her birth mom, which is married to a registered sex offender. So when that happened, of course, she ended up having another baby, and they got taken away in Alabama. And I fought for a year to get my granddaughters back. And because I didn't have enough bedrooms, my granddaughters were not allowed to come back here. It was okay for my daughter and my granddaughter and my daughter to live with me before they left, and they had their own bedroom. But once, that's the part that I don't get. I lost my grandbabies because I did not have enough bedrooms. I can't produce any more money than I make. But adoption is very rewarding.
Cool.
It is very rewarding. My daughter's my daughter through and through, and that will never change. And I hope that we get to reconnect someday. But until she gets away from her birth mom, there's nothing I can do about that. And she's a legal adult now. But that's the only thing I have is if DCS are all about families staying together, then they really need to keep the families together.
Sure.
And some of these rules are ridiculous, but adoption is very rewarding. And you do take adoption classes. I mean, in Alabama, I'm sure Tennessee's the same way.
Yep.
So you can learn about some of the kids that you are adopting, because some of them do come with things that have happened to them in their past. My daughter was living with a set of foster parents where they locked her up in a closet for punishment.
Well, Linda, I'm sorry. We got to go on that one. Y'all been great. We appreciate it. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.